call us to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. We're live on KCLV Channel 2, and this meeting will be rebroadcast Saturday at 10 a.m., the following Monday at midnight, and Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. Would everyone please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Chair Trowbridge?
Present.
Vice Chair Quinn?
Here.
Commissioner Goins?
Present.
Commissioner Truesdale?
Present.
Commissioner Flangus?
Here.
Commissioner Moody?
Here.
Commissioner Schlotman?
Present.
All present.
We have a quorum. I call your attention to the information provided in your agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and review process, if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate your adhering to these rules so we can have an orderly meeting. Thank you. We now have a public comment section where all comments made under this item for specific action items will be cross-referenced to those items. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak under this portion of the agenda? If none, so we'll move on to item number 5, which are the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting of November 8th, 2011?
I make a motion for approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. That motion carries. Let's move on to our housekeeping items. Are there any items that commissioners, staff, applicants, or members of the public would like to pull forward for action?
Mr. Chairman, item 24, the applicant has requested this item be obeyed to the February 14th, 2012 Planning Commission. Item 27, the applicant has requested this item be obeyed to the January 10th, 2012 Planning Commission meeting. Item 28, staff requests that this item be stricken and be scheduled for the January 18th, 2012 City Council meeting. Item 29, the applicant has requested this item be obeyed to the January 10th, 2012 Planning Commission meeting. And item 37, the applicant has requested this item be obeyed to the January 10th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak on any of these items? Okay. If none, a motion's in order on these housekeeping items.
I'll make a motion to strike the noted items and make a motion for approval.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries. We now move, well, there are no consent items, so we can move directly to the one motion, one vote items. The following items that may be considered one motion, one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public hearings and non-public hearings will be open at the same time. Any person representing an applicant, an application, or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. Item number 7 is a request for review. The applicant is Lamar Central Outdoor LLC. The owner is SG Properties LLC. It's for possible action on a request for a required review of a previously approved special use permit which allowed a 55-foot tall 14 by 48-foot off-premise sign at 845 West Bonanza. Item number 8 is a required review for number 43778. The applicant again is Lamar Central Outdoor LLC. The owner is Rebel Oil Company, Inc. for possible action to request for a required review of a previously approved special use permit which allowed a 40-foot tall 14 by 28-foot off-premise sign at 1080 South Rainbow Boulevard. Item 9, required review 43779. The applicant is Lamar Central Outdoor LLC. The owner is RHDH Properties LLC for possible action on a request for a required review of a previously approved special use permit which allowed a 40-foot tall, 14 by 48-foot off-premise sign at 1600 North Rancho Drive. Item 10 is required review 43801. The applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor, Inc. The owner is Willick Investments LLC for possible action on a required review for a previously approved special use permit for a 40-foot tall, 14-foot by 48-foot off-premise sign at 3591 East Bonanza Road. Item 11 is required review 43802. The applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor, Inc. Owner is iRentB&E LLC for possible action on a required review of a previously approved special use permit for a 40-foot tall, 14 by 48-foot off-premise sign at 3500 West Sahara Avenue. Item number 12 is required review 43803. The applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor. The owner is Storage Equities, Inc. for possible action on a required review for an approved special use permit for a 55-foot tall, 14 by 48-foot off-premise sign at 275 South Martin Luther King Boulevard. Item 13 is required review 43804. The applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor, Inc. Owner is Bell Real Estate. It's for possible action on a required review of a previously approved special use permit for a 40-foot tall, 12-foot by 24 off-premise sign at 1910 Industrial Road. Item number 14 is a special use permit 43685. The applicant is Denny's, Inc. Is the owner of FAEC Holdings Werrula LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 6,300 square foot supper club at 450 Fremont Avenue, Suite 195. Item number 15 is a special use permit. The applicant is Thus Smith Center. The owner is City Parkway 5, Inc. for possible action on a request for a special use permit for proposed liquor establishment, a tavern, with waivers to allow a 500-foot distance separation from another liquor establishment, a tavern, and an 850-foot distance separation from a church house of worship where 1,500 feet is required at 388 Promenade Place and 464 Symphony Park Avenue. Item number 16 is the vacation. It's just 43701. The vacation is in public hearing. The applicant owner is William Lyon Homes, Inc., for possible action to request for a petition to vacate the emergency access easement within Common Element D of the recorded final map titled Station 35 at the south intersection of Steady Breeze Avenue and Purple Wisteria Street. Item number 17 is the vacation 43714. The applicant Dwyer Engineering. The owner is Mark III LLC for possible action or request for a petition to vacate a public sewer easement on property located at the northwest corner of Strange Avenue and Grand Canyon Avenue. This is in Clark County. Staff report, please. None? One motion, one vote. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on these matters? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed, and I don't see our Mr. Farrell here, but I'll ask the question on his behalf and answer it, and that is, we have the traditional question is, are these signs, have they been inspected, and are they being cleaned and maintained properly? And the answer to that question is yes, they have been. We have a motion in regards to the...
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion on the one motion, one vote for approval of numbers 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, following all staff's recommendation for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. A motion has been made. Please cast your votes. And those motions all carry.
Mr. Chairman, items 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, and 17 are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days. And item number 14 will go forward to the January 18th City Council meeting.
Now I'd like to move out of order, move to item number 40. Site Development Review 43737. The applicant owner is JRJ Properties. Is for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for proposed motor vehicle sales new facility with waivers to allow a landscape buffer widths of 0 feet along portions of the south and east property lines where 15 feet is required, and along the north and west property lines where 8 feet is required at the northwest corner of Sahara Avenue and Decatur Boulevard. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to remodel and expand an existing motor vehicle sales new facility. The site includes property adjacent to the northwest corner of Sahara Avenue and Decatur Boulevard that had been previously occupied by a service station and is now undeveloped. The existing car dealership will feature an additional 5,613 square foot of retail floor space and will include minor improvements to the facade of the existing dealership buildings. The applicant proposes to provide solar collectors for providing on-site power and vehicle charging stations. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on this matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Good evening, Your Honor and council persons, commissioners. My name is Kelvin Haywood, KME Architects, 231 West Charleston. I'm a representative for the applicant, Eric Mims, who's actually with us this evening. And we are certainly in support of staff's recommendations and are here to answer any questions that you may have about this particular project.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion. And I'll take first shot at a question. Mr. Mims,
Yes.
How many people do you plan on employing when you're fully operational?
At this site, we'll employ approximately 270 people, and we're looking at having 500 charging stations, just as this one, throughout the state of Nevada, and we'll employ approximately between 13,500 to 15,000 people.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And is this a charging station or a dealership?
Both. We'll be designing and building electric vehicles that will be sold at this site. We'll also have used car sales as well as new car sales. We're currently negotiating with Mitsubishi Motors as well as a number of other companies to have the new car dealership, but we will open with the used car dealership and have the charging station at the corner of Sahara and Decatur.
And just out of curiosity, is this a new business or is this, because I've seen that I think the staff report said 6,000 to 13,500 employees. Can you elaborate just a bit?
Yes, that's over the 500 charging stations that will be created over the next 5 years. This will be our flagship site, and we'll be moving from there. There'll be car sales at all 3 dealerships. We'll have porters to handle the charging of electric vehicles, taking it back to kind of like in the 50s where you had full service. Basically, when anybody pulls in, they'll have a opportunity to have a porter come out, take their vehicle, charge it, and clean the vehicle for them. If there's a manufacturer is one of our associates or affiliates, then they will have their cars cleaned for free.
Any other discussions?
Thank you, Mr. Means, Mr. Hayward. I visited your site today, and I'm excited that something's going in there and that it's going to be operational very quick and fast because pretty much everything's in place. You are requesting final action, and it's rare that at this site that we do allow final action for that, but it is going to be my recommendation tonight, not only that this site is approved, but that it is final action here. And I wish you a lot of luck. The one thing that I want to make sure of is that we do a one-year review because I don't want anything parked on the streets for sale, and you kind of start pushing things out a little bit further and further, and pretty soon they're on the sidewalk. So if we could add a one-year staff review to that, sir. We'd like to see you up and running and putting lots of people to work as soon as possible. So with that, I make a motion for approval on number SDR 43737 and making that final action. Wishing you good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, Commissioner Quinn, we do not have the ability to add a one-year review to site development plan review applications. we can add those to a special use permit, but they don't need that here for their site. What we will do as staff, we will administratively make sure that they conform to the regulations that we have relative to car dealerships, and we'll make that an administrative item rather than a condition of approval here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn.
Okay, motion's been made. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you open.
And
Thank you
Mr.
very
Chairman,
much.
this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you very much.
Now move to item number 18, which is variance 43988. The applicant owner is Jack W. Zirkle Jr. and Ofra Zirkle for possible action on a request for a variance to allow an existing 6-foot-tall solid corrugated metal screen fence with no contrasting materials or color, where a 5-foot-tall fence with a maximum of 2 feet that is solid is allowed in the front yard of a residence property, or 20% contrasting materials and or colors required at 6902 Bradley Road. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the requested variance is to allow an existing unpermitted corrugated metal screen fence with no contrast materials that's 6 feet tall by 337 feet long to remain. A 5-foot-tall fence with a maximum of 2 feet that is solid is allowed in the front yard of a residential property, and 20% contrast materials and or color is required. The fence is located at the front property line along Bradley Road and is highly visible from the public right-of-way and from surrounding adjacent properties. The applicant has provided no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance pursuant to Title 1916 that would substantiate the requested variance, and staff recommends denial of this request. A neighborhood meeting was held on November 14th with mixed support and opposition to the wall, as noted in the staff report. If denied, the existing fence would have to be removed. Please note that there are additional letters of protest, support, and concern since publication.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open and ask anyone in attendance who wish to speak on the matter to approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
My name is Orpha Zirkle. I live at 6902 Bradley, and I built the fence. Orpha Zirkle. I'm the one who built the fence. We were given abeyance, thank you, to have a neighborhood meeting where we had some couples and some just people come. I thought that one of the things I was asked to take was like a compromise, that we could change something on it, or I brought this picture. Sorry. And thought it would look nicer to take the top 2 feet off the fence and put in wooden slats across there. I was hoping that that would just be with the rust color, because the brown would look good with the rust. And so that's what I took. There was heated discussions. Some did not, one couple did not want the fence, period. Another couple just didn't like the rust and would like to have the rust changed out. And it seemed to be that is kind of where everyone who didn't like the fence would rather just to see it all one solid color. I didn't see any problems with the height of the fence or that the fence was solid, just that they couldn't see past the variated colors of rust, because it's, some are dark brown right now because they were on top of the pile. They had already had come to their full color and the others hadn't, so they would prefer just to see it all along that way. Now, of course, there was still the couple that does not want it, period. There was, and I think by the end of it, the couple sitting right by him was just totally against it by that time, too, because I think some people were, well, I'm sure some people were offended by some of the heated discussion that went on. I'm fine with taking down the rust color, putting it all one color up, or whatever. It was suggested that I move the fence back 5 feet and put some landscaping there to help soften it up, because this picture here, sorry, took it down, shows some landscaping in front that really does soften the look of the metal. I don't think that I'm okay with that. I have almost 400 foot of fence in front, and 400 foot times 5. I mean, that's a lot of land to give up. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Rebecca Wagoner. I think that the Zirkles are able to do something that a lot of us grew up with, where we had the freedom to run and play and explore and not necessarily be confined to a television or a console or a video game. So they have a half-acre property that allows them to do that, which was an insightful decision of theirs, but previous to the city annexing that land and Bradley Road becoming a large thoroughfare. And I go across Bradley daily, multiple times. And every time I drive down that road, I look in the Zirkles yard. They've become a fishbowl. And having a fence that's completely open would still allow them to be a fishbowl where everyone who drives by sees them, sees their kids. The children are being raised to enjoy exploring, and that means that sometimes they see the road, they see that chain link fence, they see everything that's on the outside, and it's an attractive idea to them. And then finally, there have been people who have come over the fence into the Zirkles yard. So the chain link fence that was there that was completely legal was more attractive perhaps to everyone who passed by, but didn't address the needs of the Zirkle family. This fence, while it's not necessarily attractive, actually addresses the needs. We look at the rules and we say those are for our preferences. We like that type of fence. It looks good in our community. But nowhere do those rules say, is this the best thing that's for the Zirkle family? For the Zirkle family, a solid fence that's tall, that keeps other people from jumping into their yard, that keeps the children on the inside of the yard, and that allows the children the safety and the privacy of being kids and not exposed to everyone who drives by. I am in agreement with the fence, not because I particularly like the fence, but because the needs of the Zirkle family are addressed by that fence. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
My name is Brian Astle. I'm the Zirkles neighbor just to the south of their property. My wife and I built our home there 14 years ago, probably a year to a year and a half before the Zirkles did. When we constructed the home, the whole area was zoned RE, Ranch Estates, and as the development has gone out there, it's been conducive to horse properties and so on. The Zirkles have 2¼ acres. They have a horse. They have other animals. They use their property the way that that part of the valley was designated. As you go through that area, there's a lot of different homes out there that were built out there in the 60s and the 70s that are truly rural homes. And they're spotted in different areas. I know that the development has come out and that they have more of the traditional tracks across the way from them. But the reality is that area was kind of designated to be kind of a rural area. The Zirkle family, as it was talked about, they're outside people. They have a number of children, and the purpose for the fence being built was for privacy reasons because of some events that happened that were concerning to them. And so I think that ought to be taken into consideration. As I understand it, the two issues before that are of concern are both the material and the height of the fence. The material itself, at least in my opinion, is very consistent with the nature of the development of the area out there as kind of a rural area. The height of the fence, my property, again, is adjacent to theirs. It is exactly the same height as my fence is. Now, for me, it happens to be the side, because we're on a cul-de-sac, it happens to be the sidewall, so it meets the code as it is. But for the Zirkles, because it's classified as their front fence, the code is that it be lower. And again, it looks very consistent with mine, the color and so on. And it's not offensive to us at all. We would accept it as is. We would accept it as with the compromise. But I think that what they have is very consistent with the development in the area. It's consistent with the kind of property it is. And I think it helps, again, with the privacy issue that's significant to them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a few questions for the applicant. You told me that you gathered some signatures that I don't believe are part of the record that we have yet.
Yeah, sorry.
Can you give those to the clerk, perhaps?
I turned in a little over 150 of them on Thursday, and then I took some back in on Monday. So we have 156. It took a long time, and I had help. We went door to door, explained to everybody what the fence was, and it's amazing that across the street there was people that didn't even know what I was talking about, and I had to point out my property to them. But I have 56 that approve. 7 thought the compromise would be nice, where it's just one solid color, and 4 objected. And I was able to meet those 4, and it was the same concerns you had. It was ugly. I also have notes from the neighborhood meeting that I turned in at that time also, the comments of those who were there.
Mr. Chairman, through you.
Where am
The pages that she just gave to the clerk, we do have those in the file. They were submitted through the planning department. Most of those signatures are signatures alone. They do not have addresses with them, so we can't associate them with a certain property in the area. The ones that do have addresses are included on your list of post-closing comments. The ones without addresses we did not include on that list, but like I said, those pages are included in the file.
Thank you. Anybody have any?
Yeah, if I can just continue then with that question. Ms. Zirkle, if you weren't so pleasant, this would be a lot easier for me. And I don't want you to think I've reached my decision yet, but there's some things that I've observed and some things that I want to say to you. But you've been very kind throughout all of this, and I really appreciate that. For me, this is what this boils down to. Your husband constructed a fence of materials that he's able to use in his industry, although he really knew better because he's been through this process before of applying for permits and even being cited when he didn't use a permit based on the history of the property that I've looked at. The fence is constructed of the wrong material. It's too high, it's too much of it's solid, and there's not enough contrast in it according to code. I understand it gives your family privacy, but we don't want this to look like a compound. You've got this stunningly beautiful house in the background, and to me it looks like it's behind a junkyard fence. It's just not harmonious with your home. I know you have support. I attended the neighborhood meeting. In fact, I think you have strong support. The numbers are definitely in your favor, but you also have several homeowners who have some really strong opposition to this. They've used words like rusting, terrible, junkyard, unsightly, too tall, eyesore, salvage yard, to describe what's there. And so I guess my last question for you is this. The first picture you put up when you came up here says, I am willing to use a material there to open up the top part of the fence, to lower the height of it. What is the material that you're planning to use on the bottom portion of that photo that you put up? Is it the same rusted corrugated metal that we're looking at?
Metal, yeah.
And how high do you anticipate that going?
Well, that would be 4 feet. We take 2 feet off the top and put the slats, the wooded slats.
Okay. So
I would, 6 feet minus 2 would be 4, I'd imagine.
all right. And since what I'm trying to do here is negotiate a little bit with you to see if there's a compromise.
Yeah.
If you have to
I
pull that
understand.
down anyway, why not bring it down to 3 feet and put the 2 feet on the top so we keep that fence to the 5-foot code requirement? And I'm going to ask you again if you would be willing to pull that back and put some green in front of it to soften that a
Yeah,
little bit.
the plants would make it look nice. I just,
It would.
I'm not prepared to make that choice alone.
Okay. Okay.
Trying to think how high 3 feet is.
It'd probably hit you about waist. I'm sorry. It'd probably hit you about waist level.
It would be like half wood and half metal. I can't see that that would look any better. So I'll pass on that one too. But thank you.
Any other commissioners have any thoughts or comments they'd like to bring forward?
Yeah, just a couple of
Mr.
comments. And I appreciate you holding the neighborhood meeting. And, you know, I don't know, it just behooves me. I guess it kind of sounds like we're trying to put you under the homeowner association umbrella of what to do and how high it should be and everything else. But I believe the purpose you moved out there was to kind of be on 2.5 acres and kind of do your own thing. And I support the fence. Again, I believe it's out in the rural character. I believe that type of uses should be allowed out there. Now, I do agree that because your husband didn't pull the permit, that's on you. But I think we can get around that through a inspection through a structural engineer and talk about the integrity of the fence. But I think when your neighbor right here said it exactly like it should be said. It may not look the best thing, but it serves a purpose. And I think you have about 9 kids on a very busy street. And I think as this area develops, even Bradley may even widen at some point. Of course, there's no curb and gutter on the street. But that being said, it's for the protection of the kids. I'll support it because overwhelmingly you have support from your neighbors. I looked at the petitions, and you have more that are in favor than are against. And, you know, a couple of people don't like the color. But again, you're not in an association. You're not beholden to have your house to match the certain color. But it blends with the integrity and the character of the area. And that's why I don't think it's so unsightly. I don't even think it's to the point where you could call it a junkyard type eyesore. So with those comments, I can support it. But wholeheartedly, it's because it's something that's going to protect your kids. And I think even the fact that in the front it's a little bit higher, I think that's where you need the most protection because it's fronting on to the major traffic flows along that street. So with that, I could support it, and I think your neighbors have spoken, and I think anybody knows my style up here. I tend to listen to what the neighbors want. They have to look at it, and you have a neighbor that lives right next door to you is in support as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to make a quick comment with what regarding what Byron said. 18 years ago, my husband built a fence on Rancho, and everybody hated it. It was like 18 feet tall, and I don't know, with these poles on the top. And eventually, the neighbor next door followed suit. The neighbor next door followed suit, and it really kind of started something that ended up being really nice. And although I don't think this is the best-looking fence in town, it's what you chose. And I don't think people thought what I chose was the best fence in town either, but it's what we chose. And I'm going to support your item tonight because I think you putting any more work into this is just not worth it. So you have my support.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Truesdale?
I appreciate what you've presented, and I'm trying to find out where the legal hardship or the hardship was created. You know, it's our codes shouldn't be a hardship. The property's rectangular in shape. You and your husband opted to build the fence. I tend to agree with some of what Commissioner Goins said, but we still have to look to our codes. I mean, this isn't an association out here, but it's still part of the city of Las Vegas, still under their codes, and we have to look at that, and the fact that your neighbors are supportive of it does support some of the argument, but could you put the picture where you were going to add wood across the top and open that up? I mean, this to me is kind of you're asking us for support of this. I think if I was the neighbors, I think this is a softer approach. I'm not saying move it back. I think opening it up, whether it's 5 or 6 feet, just opening that top makes it look like a residential fence and not like the corrugated fence that we would see along, typically the term is used, junkyards. So I think this is a rural area, but that doesn't mean we should let everybody,
Yes.
park cars on blocks behind it and, just make it something it isn't. I don't think there's a lot of rural areas, in West Sahara, little pockets of RE land that I don't think that's what we would expect. So you're representing, you're willing to do this with the fence, and
Yes.
you've discussed that with some of your neighbors as well?
At the neighborhood meeting, I
Yeah.
discussed it, and those there just didn't like the rust, so they didn't care about that.
Well, I mean, the rust is really whether either you like Corten or you don't like Corten. I mean,
Yeah, the fence was not finished
Mhm.
before we got the little paper on it. The other part where there's some really contrasted metal, that's actually where the other, I don't know how to show you. Where it's really, the metal looks really nice and rusty
Mhm.
already. Between there, there's some gray, and that was just stuck up because we needed to make the other fence. We had like 3 weekends worth of races that we still need to be to, so it hadn't been finished before we got the little notice.
Mhm.
So I know that looks funny, but that little contrast isn't going to be there. Where it's just really rusty on each side.
I don't have a real problem with the corrugated metal.
I
If
wouldn't mind doing
if it's
slats
part of-
just on the rust or on the whole thing.
But I think it's important for you to make the fence feel like the rural character that you want to be in. And I think putting the wood slats does change the perspective
Yeah, they look good,
phenomenally. And I think I would support that solution.
and I'd be happy to do it.
Any more comments?
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, let me ask a question before you, not to belabor the point, but you erected the fence in June, July timeframe?
Maybe, I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was summertime.
It's fairly recently. Now, if I understand correctly, your husband's in the roofing business. Would you happen to know if there's any accelerant that he could apply to the metal
To make it all rust more.
accelerate the rusting?
I don't know, but
Is
I
there
could
there
ask.
a chemical
There
spray?
is, we do on copper, people want a certain patina, blue or green or whatever, so maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
To
know
the
if
acid wash?
I wasn't there, so I didn't hear the people's objection to I don't know whether it was objecting to the color of the rust.
Yeah, it's just,
or if they
it's so
were,
mixed matched.
they were objecting
and-
to the inconsistency.
Yeah. And so they thought, get rid of the rust, make it all great.
And
Consistent.
their solution was to paint the whole thing, and painting over rust doesn't
Yeah,
work.
someone had recommended paint, but painting on the rust, it would just
That's what
peel
yeah.
as soon as summer come. So it would look unique, flaky, I guess.
You put paint on it, it'd just fall off in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, it wouldn't adhere to the rust so well. They have treatments that you spray on rust first, and every one I've seen of that is pretty dark, almost
I've-
black. So I don't know. I'm not the expert.
Problem is, neither are we. And we're faced with making a decision this evening. Okay.
Okay, Ms. Zirkle, I do appreciate the compromise, and with the condition that the fence will be changed to look as the photo depicts, lowering that corrugated metal, doing your best to create uniformity throughout that, using something to help oxidize it, using similar pieces. Just do your best. I think this is a much softer approach. I think it does look better in that rural community. And so my motion with regard to item 18, variance 42988, is for approval with conditions and the amended condition. And I'll rely on staff to come up with something about making it look like that photo you depicted.
Commissioner Moody, what we might do in terms of the condition that you would like to apply to that is say something to the effect that the top 2 feet of the fence shall feature the wood slats as depicted in the illustration submitted here at the meeting this evening, and that the rest of the fence shall be consistent in terms of its oxidation. Something along those lines.
So you know that part of it's gray and part of it's rust?
Yes, if there's some type of accelerant that you could apply to it.
So just the rust needs to be...
It needs to be consistent.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Jim Lewis, I suppose we should try to be specific with regard to the landscaping as well, whether there should be some or should not be some. At least let's make a record as to the landscaping.
My motion is to leave the fence in place, not ask for any landscaping in front of it.
Okay. Motion has been made. Please cast your votes.
Are you okay with that? Okay. So.
The nodding of the head indicates yes.
Yes.
Well, I just know in about 5 or 6 years she'll be back in because they'll be complaining because that wood has fallen down now.
Motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, that item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
We now go to item number 19 with companion items 20 and 21. Item number 19 is a variance 43-359. The applicant is Bustin Suds Car Wash and the owner is JGM Holdings LLC for possible action on a request for a variance to allow 21 parking spaces where 27 parking spaces are required at 1326 North Martin Luther King Boulevard. Companion item 20 is a special use permit 43-358 for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a car wash, full service, or auto detailing. And item 21 is site development review 43-360 for possible action on a request for site development plan review for proposed 3,985 square foot car wash, full service, or auto detailing. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this request is for a proposed car wash facility. The site meets or exceeds all Title 19 requirements for design and landscaping, but a variance is required for reduced parking due to the unusual length and shallowness of the lot. In addition, many of the parking spaces provided exceed the standard width requirement to provide ample room for activities associated with the use, including vacuuming and detailing. The applicant has provided evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance pursuant to Title 19-16 that would substantiate the requested variance, and staff recommends approval of the request.
Thank you. Before I open the public hearing, I would like to state for the record that the Planning Commission is in possession of a letter dated December 12th, 2011 from Trish Duran. She's the chairwoman of the F Street Coalition. It addresses their stance on these particular requests. So for the record, we have that letter on file. Thank you very much. I'd now like to declare the public hearing open and ask anyone in attendance that would like to speak on the matter to approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Sir?
My name is Chandy Hester. I'm the owner. One of the owners, my sister Tanika Quick, is here. We held the neighborhood meeting at the West Las Vegas Library on December 8th. Commissioner Goins, thank you for attending, arrived, and we answered many questions that was brought forth there at the meeting. 90% of the questions revolved around other car washes being too many car washes that was on Martin Luther King. It's actually just one other one that's a hand wash. We're doing something totally separate where we're featuring tunnel wash with the option to get it hand washed or not, hand detailed, those things. The other one is just exclusively just hand wash. So it's two different car washes. The other car wash is up on Bonanza and Rancho, which is a Tilburg net. We're the only tunnel wash on Martin Luther King. Okay, that was a lot of the questions that did revolve around other car competition businesses. We grew up on the west side, and what we're basically trying to do is just give back and bring jobs and give a good look to the west side of town that seems as underdeveloped there. And we think we feel like we have a good project here. And I know a lot of the concerns at the beginning, and it was brought up at the neighborhood meeting, was about the noise. Some of the measures that we did as far as with the noise, tunnels clear on the other side, it's over 100 feet on the other side of the residence, along the parallel with Martin Luther King. We also enclosed the vacuum, the motor for the vacuum and the blowers to also shield so the noise won't bother the residents. We're not trying to invade or cause a disruption to the area at all. We're just trying to bring a good look to the West Side community with a nice project, something that it can be, everyone can support.
Okay.
With that being said,
thank you for your input. Anybody else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Sir?
My name's John Riddell with John Riddell Architects. I'd like to elaborate on some of the items that Trandy just mentioned very quickly. On our site plan, as he was discussing the tunnel, it's located here with the residential on the back side, and we're parallel with Martin Luther King. We also have our blowers, which are the dryers inside the tunnel that's located over here. We also provided some building mass past the exit of the tunnel, which also provides for the protection of any noise escaping that direction. Our vacuum equipment is totally housed in here. That is behind masonry walls and concealed. With the tunnel also in the action, we have a solid mass of masonry structure of the car wash located here. Another item that was brought up during the meeting was the hours of operation. This is more or less what we call a daylight operation. It is 7 to dark in the wintertime, which is approximately 5 o'clock. Summertime is 7 to 7, 7 to 8 at the max. But it's a closed facility after. It's not a 24-hour operation. It is closed down at dark. And also, we are going to request that we have a way to secure the property. We don't care for any loitering on the property after hours. And the other item was traffic. One lady brought up the traffic on Martin Luther King pulling off. Well, anything that's developed in commercial is going to have exiting off of Martin Luther King. But we worked with staff to produce a vehicular circulation through the site that would be very simple, straightforward for users. We have a median in Martin Luther King at this point, so our traffic entering our project is all northbound traffic. We developed a long throat, as you can see, into the site, so as cars pull in, there's nothing cross-trafficking at this point, so they have plenty of room to enter the site and prevent any backup onto Martin Luther King. From that site, entrance, we also bring them down through the pay station, through the wash tunnel, back out and self-back or exit. That all gives us a vehicular circulation that gives us minimum cross traffic at all. So it's a very easy flow through the site. We've also developed a very nice landscape buffer. On the site, you'll see we developed a nice green barrier across the what I call the common area, the residential to the car wash, and also a nice green landscape strip along Martin Luther King. So we've, with our building helping in the protection of the noise and also our nice green barrier, we've done several items to help in that facet. I think Trandy mentioned the type of car wash and that we are different than and I'll leave it open for any questions at this point.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
To the commissioners, I'm Augusta Gary. My property connects directly in the rear to this. I listened how much someone else you all took that lady through. So I want you to do some critical thinking now. This does not make sense. A car wash on the Bonanza and Rancho, a car wash on Martin Luther King and MLK, and a car wash in the middle of a busy Martin Luther King Drive. Now, we've had that land in our family since in the 40s. It was highland, and it was beautifully landscaped before they cut the trees down and made it a wide street, is to help with all this development that come in, the El Dorado and the development and the Aliante. We need another car wash like we need a hole in our head. It's so much traffic going through there. When the police come north with the traffic, they'll ride in the traffic, but they won't just blow the whistle, you know, and scare the people. They just kind of lightly pull them over, and they usually pull them over right there where this is proposed site is. Whoever's seen a car wash in the middle of a block, this is something we don't need. Now, I was before the commissioners years ago in the 1960s. I feel kind of blame. I voted for this to be C1. At that time, we owned acreage, and another old man owned a lot of acreage. And it was passed. But the stuff they proposed then would have been suitable. Once you get this car wash in here in the middle of a block, and it doesn't work, that type of people you will hire is people that's hard up, they'll work a little bit, they'll be selling drugs, and usually selling tapes. So we don't need this in our community. We kind of neighborhood watch our own selves. Then to think of the chemicals that can go in the ground. My land that intersects with theirs, we grow a garden back there. What if some drain back in there and it kill us like you do with the melons and kill people? But just don't make sense if you think about it. You're not helping us to put them in the car washes in this hard economic time. Another thing is this town is a 24-hour town. That means it's 3 shifts. People are going and coming. That traffic be so heavy on Martin Luther King, they go up to 8th Street, come down, go west on Bonanza to get the freeway to get to work. The big trucks sometimes come down in street, which is the front of my property. We don't need this favor. And the reason we don't need this favor, these people's address, J.M. Holding, LLC, Riverton Avenue, Staten Island, New York. They may do things different. I know what he said. He's been here all the time. But these owners need to come forward. They use some part of Staten Island to dump some of the 9/11. I know about property out of town. I own some Civil War property. There are things I can't do on that Civil War property in Louisiana where John Grant camps. I cannot cut the Cypress streets. Now, whosoever this is out of town, they're not thinking about us. And you all can do better than this for us. We don't need this. This is something we do not need. I saw a wreck and a man was killed instantly on Martin Luther King. Just drive north. Just get in the traffic in the morning and see how they're crawling to get to the strip. Because you put all these subdivisions, and these people got to get to work somehow. I'm not against these people. I'm against the car wash. They can put any other kind of nice building, a 99-cent store, a beauty shop, a dress shop, and we'll walk to it and push out things like they do in Europe. They do a lot of walking. They don't do a lot of driving. But just do some critical thinking. This isn't right. Something is wrong here. Very wrong. And eventually, if this business can't make a go, what else can it be once you erect this kind of car wash? It can't be anything else but a car repair shop, or they'll end up a hat shop. This don't make sense.
Thank you. Appreciate your input, ma'am. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Andrea Sales, 1411 N Street. My property is directly behind this or in front of, whichever way you want to look at it. Me and my husband grew up in this neighborhood. That was my mother. I grew up in the ranch-style home that's over 2,500 square feet, a half acre. That's what I grew up as. Me and my husband moved away when we were both 25. We moved away for 18 years. We decided to come back, and I believe we started the revitalization of that part of West Las Vegas. We built a 2-story, over almost 3,000 square foot home in the West Las Vegas community. By no means did I ever think that my backyard would be a car wash. And also, at the neighborhood meeting, our questions were not answered. We were given this rendition. I asked, what are these trees? What would it be? They couldn't tell us. I paid extra for a deck. I could look out and see Mount Charleston. I don't want to look out and see whatever this is. I don't know what the shrubs are, but that's not what I paid for. I paid to move back to the neighborhood to revitalize it. For the home that we built, I could have bought a house in Summerlin. I could have bought a house in Aliante. I could have bought a house in Green Valley, but I built a home in West Las Vegas. So by no means would I want a car wash in my backyard. And also, like my mother spoke, what would that be after it goes defunct? What can you turn that into? What other business would come on either side of that car wash? It makes no sense to have a car wash in the middle of what could be a strip mall. I would love to see a Pizza Hut. I would love to see a Subway sandwich shop. I would love to see a yogurt shop. I would love to see a dog grooming business. Anything other than a car wash. Is West Las Vegas going to be known for, on every other corner and in the middle of a busy thoroughfare, car washes? So please take into consideration that these people actually said they live in North Las Vegas. So it's not affecting them. It's affecting us and my future generations. Because we have 3 children, that is their legacy. So please consider that that's not how you revitalize the West Las Vegas community. You revitalize it by future planning. Look to bring in other businesses. That I work for Clark County, and I would love to say to my coworkers, down the street, we can go to lunch. Down the street, you can drop your dog off and have your dog groomed. Down the street, you can buy a yogurt. I don't want to tell them down the street you can get your car washed. So that's my heartfelt thoughts, that please deny this applicant.
Thank you very much. Anyone else, sir?
My name is Tanika Quick, and as my brother mentioned, he and I and my mother are entering this project together. And when I think about the revitalization of that neighborhood, which, we appreciate that their family was very influential in helping to get a lot of that started and getting that area zoned for commercial business. But from what I understand, one of the one of the difficult things about actually building and selling that particular area is because it's so narrow, and that they've had a hard time getting a lot of businesses to purchase into that particular spot because it makes it very difficult. The same reason why we're looking for variance in parking spots. It'd be very difficult to have a Groomers or a 99-cent store or some of those things in that shallow lot. But when we look at revitalization, it starts with a business. And then from there, it continues to grow. At least that's the hope, is that once there is a business within that lot, a piece of lot that has been considered undesirable because of the size of it, if us starting at least building our business and starting that trend, and part of the reason why we selected it is because it is a busy thoroughfare on Martin Luther King, and that there are lots of neighboring communities that can benefit from it. So we're making a legacy for our families also, without the intent of negatively impacting any other families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir?
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Anderson. I represent GGM Holdings, who is Gina Mazza, who Ms. Gary referred to. She does live in Staten Island, and she does wish to sell the property. One of the things at the neighborhood meeting was brought up was cutting off their views with the trees or the building. I called up and had Beverly Mobley, who's the assistant manager of the Legislative Law Library up in Carson City. There is no revised statute in Nevada that guarantees a person a right to a view. What we're doing is enhancing an area. The developer that I work primarily for builds the Family Dollar stores in Las Vegas. And this is the reason I had approached her to sell this property, is to put 99 cents or the Family Dollar there. After they looked at the property, they turned it down because there is no adjacent buildings. They don't want to be a standalone store to be subject to vandalism or tagging because they're closed and they have a lot of merchandise. And then I asked her if I could put it on the market and maybe get a car wash or a strip mall or something. There's a quarter-acre length of land that is vacant with trash, signs, nothing built there. Nobody's going to build there till somebody builds there. There's no car washes around. There's one on Rancho, which is the Terrible Herbst, which is a tunnel wash. There's the other one that they referred to that is 1.15 mile away at the other side of Cary and MLK. It is not a tunnel wash. It is strictly a hand wash. It's like comparing Denny's to Carl's Jr. Denny's, you got to get out of your car, go in and eat. Carl's, you can do the same thing, or you can drive through. It's less expensive if you do like I do. I've never had my cars hand washed. I've always done a tunnel wash. That's the only way to go. I'm too busy. I drive through tunnel wash. I go on my way, and this is what they're trying to do. They're family-owned, family-run, nice business. They're bringing revenue to Las Vegas, and I think it's a fabulous project. I know I'm biased because I represent the seller, but something's got to go there. And I think it's a nice project in the way they've done it, state of the art. They've done everything they can do to minimize the noise. They're going to eliminate the noise of 35,000 cars a day that go by these folks' property. So actually the noise factor is eventually going to be reduced when the trees get mature and the building is up. They're not going to hear 35,000 cars. So anyway, I'm
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak?
Hi, good evening. Trish Duran, North Las Vegas. I hear that a lot. I grew up on the west side, and I used to hear a lot of it, oh, if we don't put something on there, oh, it'll never be something on there. So they always put something on there, then it becomes vacant. This has happened for so many years. This rush because somebody has this great idea about a car wash, disrespecting people who have paved the way, who have spent tons of money, much more than you probably will ever think of on your renderings, for them to just pay the price for someone just coming in the neighborhood. That doesn't make any sense. And then here's a woman who is the one who initiated the commercial, which in turn has allowed tons of businesses down MLK. So we have this person who we don't know. A lot of us been in the community for so long. They have no history, no trace. Like I said in my letter, I don't know if any of you had the chance to read it. I don't know what else to say. I would not, and I don't know if any of you, this is a good way to end this, would any of you want a car wash? Talking to engineers from out of state and in-state, they do make noise. People talk. Cars make noise. 35,000 cars going down that street a day makes noise, even going by, let alone pulling in. So it's not about them. I respect the fact that they're trying to do something, but that is not normal to have a car wash in the middle of a strip and in the backyard of someone's yard. The norm is on a corner with a gas station, commercial. We know that this is commercial, but it's limited. But any other project, I'm sure the community would gladly welcome it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak on the matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion. Thoughts? Baron?
Mr. Commissioner, I guess there's no more comments on this one. I did attend the neighborhood meeting. Mr. Hester and your group, thank you for hosting that meeting. It was well attended, but there were some concerns about the notice area as well from the residents. I think we satisfied that through Mr. Rankin that within 1,000 feet neighbors were noticed. Again, as you heard the passion here from the neighbors. You heard the passion from residents that have a true stake in the community, both being long-term and those that have moved away and then decided to come back and raise a family. That speaks volumes because that's usually what happens in a generational circle. You tend to come back to where you began. Ms. Duran, I read your letter a couple of times. Thank you very much. And it reads eloquently. I don't know if people know Ms. Duran is an accomplished author as well, so her words tend to put it in its proper light. But going back to the 1960s, I just want to kind of reiterate a couple of things there when this land was, with the help of Ms. Gary, zoned commercial. One of the things it pointed out then was that projects proposed to be built on this land back then, movie theater, cocktail lounge, a small business mall, that type of development, and that was supposed to be what was going to be there. And then somebody came in and was opposed to that, but actually it looks like this land has sat there since the 60s. And we fast forward today to our meeting December 13, 2011, and I'm hearing the same thing from those people who had a start in this at the beginning. I'm hearing again, it's not the movie theater, but it is the Subway. It's not the cocktail lounge, but it is the yogurt shop. So it, to me, seems that that these people want some type of economic development there, but they want the right economic development there. They want something that can be bought into from the neighborhood. I understand this was recommended approval by staff, which means it's permitted. However, is it the right development? You know, is it of the right development? And I know Mr. Anderson mentioned that he doesn't know any car washes. Mr. Anderson, I don't know how far down Martin Luther King you went, but if you go up to Bonanza, you'll see a car wash. If you go to Martin Luther King and Cary, you'll see a car wash. If you keep going further north to Martin Luther King and Cheyenne, you'll see another car wash. And if you want to go further north to Craig Road, there's another one there at the Texaco station as well. You know, I tend to vote how the residents want their community. I don't have to look at this out of my backyard as Ms. Sales does and Ms. Gary do. They're directly affected by it. They're passionate about it. I just don't think this is the right development. I think a project is due there. I think it's long overdue. I think to be consistent with what has been developed along that corridor, more of a mall-type use, as we have with the Hair Unlimited Barbershop, and then we also have another small mall with a restaurant, a foot doctor, and those type uses. Car washes, you know, just a couple of questions I want to ask you, Mr. Hester, about the car wash, what Ms. Gary brought up. How is your water coming through? Is it reused? Is it recycled? You say this is tunneled. You mentioned a lot of building and a lot of masonry, but have there been any decibel studies? I know in the past we've had some car washes around here which are actually coin operated with the vacuums, and we've requested applicants to go back and provide us with a decibel study to show is there any impact on the neighbors when this thing is at full capacity. When you're at full capacity, how many cars are in there? Are they queued? Are they turned off? Are there fumes emitting from this over into the neighborhood? These are things that are concerns to these neighbors from an environmental perspective, and I think they're very important as well. You mentioned that you'll be shut down in the winter when it's dark, opening up at 7 a.m. In the summer, you'll open at 7 a.m. and possibly close around 8 p.m. How are you going to protect from loitering? How are you going to protect some of the concerns of people coming into the parking lot? Right now, after January, we've got the new cell phone law, so you see a lot more people now pulling into driveways. They're pulling into commercial areas to stop and answer and take their phone calls. How are you going to protect the neighbors from this as well?
Your first question, Commissioner.
And if you forget any of that, I've got a list. I'll go right back down through it.
The water usage. It's a very important in our car wash system now. The water use is collected in the tunnel area here through a conveyor trough that goes through a series of what's called interceptor tanks. City requires anything to be run through a sand oil interceptor prior to exiting into city sewer. We use a series of 3 interceptor tanks of 1,500 to 2,000 gallons, depending on the calculation of water that will be going through. Then we recycle that out of the last tank, and we put that through a reclaim system back into the wash system on the front end of the car wash. The only fresh water that's used is the rinse system at the end of the car wash with an RO system. Now, that saves a ton of water. It all depends on the area, how hard the water is, everything else on how much water we can save. So I can't sit here and tell you we're going to save 50% of the water or 60% of the water, but I know going through a tunnel wash compared to a hand wash in a driveway, you're using about 16 to 18 gallons of water to do a tunnel wash compared to 50 gallons of water on a driveway wash. With the reuse, we can get that down to where on each car we're probably using less than 10 gallons of water through the reclaim system. The aspect of the no loitering, at each location we were going to work with staff on providing a gate closure system with the fire department approval that they'll have knock boxes to get through. We do use this on several car washes, so after hours, last one that leaves, that system is locked up. Cars cannot come onto site. Now, it's pretty hard to stop pedestrians, but we can control the vehicular cars onto it after hours. The next item with the noise. The only noise information that is really pertain with the blowers or the vacuums are the decimals at the point of which there is no enclosure. All the noise decimal ratings are taken from equipment with no enclosure around them. With the masonry walls, you stop. That is the number one way of stopping noise control on your freeways. That's why they line the freeways. with high masonry walls or anything else because it stops the noise from traveling. It directs it up and it controls it.
Well, it suppresses it a little bit. I mean, you're not going to eliminate the
You
noise.
suppress it significantly with some type of wall system. The location of our noise generation equipment is totally removed at the furthest point that we can from the residential. And from the blowers, we actually have 2 masonry walls in between that and the east side of the property where the residential is. That's the best way I can explain that to you right now.
What type of chemicals are on property for a car wash?
The chemicals that are on property are all biodegradable now. They are the most environmental friendly that you can get. We use car wash equipment. Suppliers also supply the chemicals for these blue coral. And they're all environmental, water soluble chemicals. And I usually have to supply all that data to the city. They want to see what chemicals are there, and they're all a biodegradable, water-soluble chemical. Now, there is no oil changing on here. There's no auto mechanic parts or
No fuel?
No fuel. It's none of that on the site, sir.
Have you ever built the car wash in Las Vegas or in Nevada?
I've not built one in Las Vegas. No, I have not. I've designed one. I don't know if it was ever built. That was about 15, 16 years ago. Most of mine's in Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and a couple in Texas. Designs.
Thank you. One last question. You got your website fixed yet?
A website.
I tried to go and look at it. I couldn't find a website.
I don't have a website.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Said it was under construction.
My daughter's working on that, so I don't have it up yet. She's putting all my pictures on.
Thank you. I've just one more question. You've talked about bringing in the latest technology to suppress noise associated with the dryers and the blowers. What technology can you use that will suppress the music to some ears, noise to other ears, that will emanate from the vehicles that are being wiped down after they've gone through the tunnel wash? You know, that's the issue at my local car wash, because I wash my own vehicles and I'll drive through, then I pull in, and the people that are there got their windows down and they're playing their music.
Yes, sir. That's a good one. Management. They have 5 to 15 employees on site. They have a general manager on site. That's their control to police the site for the noise from radios or anything else, and also trash. And that's part of their management control.
The other question that we really are supposed to be addressing here is the request for variance, which is requesting a variance from a required 27 parking spaces and to only use 21. Where are the up to 15 employees going to park? They're going to consume quite a bit of the parking, and
it's
supposed to be available for the.
It's an average about 2.5 employees per car, is what we find. We have these parking here. The people that attend, or customers that come to the car wash, they stay in their car. The car is in a perpetual motion through the car wash to the pay station. They stay in their vehicle through here. The ones that are asking for an express car wash comes through. They have the option of vacuuming their own car. They can pull in here, vacuum, or leave. The ones that are getting a full service car wash come through the tunnels. They stay in their car till they get to the point here where there's finishing going on. That's where they walk down the cars. And at that time, the customer can get out of his vehicle and come into the waiting room for the 5 to 10 minutes that it might take, depending on if they get their wheels cleaned or whatever. And then back in their car, and then they exit. Through the system, we have queuing of about 6 here, 3 in each lane, At any one time, there can be anywhere from 3 to 5 through here, and there's enough room for 9 vehicles in the finishing lanes back here. We only counted the parking spaces that we actually installed. And those parking spaces, we also are wider, so when a customer does use that, instead of 9 feet wide, they're a minimum 11 feet here, so when they open their doors, they're not hitting other vehicles. So we have room on site for approximately 45 vehicles through the car wash process.
Oh,
That's a
okay.
max, which would be very seldom.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, let's talk about Ms. Gary's wall, and let's talk about the wall that you're proposing to build 8 feet. Her wall's 6 feet, correct, sir?
Yes.
And then you're proposing to build an 8 feet wall in back of, or however you want to say it, in front of her existing wall. What is going to be the buffer between those two walls? Are there going to be trees? Is it just going to be a gap? Or, like, I don't get it. What's going to be there?
Code requires us, zoning code requires us a 6-foot minimum wall. Staff requested 8 foot, which we accepted.
Okay, so Miss Geary's 6-foot wall, when she sits in her backyard, is going to be looking at your 8-foot wall. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
No trees, no bushes.
The wall is
Nothing in
on,
between there.
the wall is on the property line, sitting on an offset footing that allows us to put our wall on the property line.
Okay, so then your employees, how many people do you plan on employing at, let's just say, one great day, let's say Saturday?
About 15 total, 5 to
Okay.
15.
So where are these people going to park? I don't get the parking of your employees when you have minimal space even for the cars coming through the car wash.
These parking are all for employee parking here across this.
How many of those are there, sir?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 there and 3 here. About 13 parking spaces.
So you have 13 spaces, 15 employees, and so you're short parking. So where will they go, on the street?
As you're looking at parking, there's usually about 2.5 people per vehicle that come to work.
Okay. Let's say somebody comes through your car wash with a oversized van, I have one. Is that going to be able to fit through your car wash, and will you be able to take care of a van as well as a normal sized vehicle? Or will they have to go somewhere else?
On oversized, we have the height limit of about 80 inches in the car wash equipment. Anything over that or with wider tires cannot fit through the car wash. People will come into here and find out they won't fit, so we have an escape right here at this point. So there is a access for them to come out. You always have somebody with the super wide tires that don't fit in
And
the
you also always have somebody with a disabled vehicle, whereas A, they won't have anywhere to park, and B, they won't be able to use your car wash. Is that correct?
We do have handicap parking right here.
But you can't wash the car.
You stay in the car and go through it, but if it's a oversized van, we can't wash everything through automated car wash that way.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Truesdale?
Just to kind of bring a perspective, because I understand the neighbors and, Miss Gary, and they've lived here since the 60s or before. But in perspective, that means we've done a whole lot of long-range planning. We've managed to keep this property vacant for well over 50 years. And with our own codes that we kind of selectively represent to each project, depending on our point of view on that project, may well make this property vacant for another 50 years, which I think will benefit Miss Gary, and but I don't think that benefits the overall community. You can't just leave large or small infill pieces vacant forever. It stymies growth. It helps bring about long-term decay of a community. communities have to grow and be vibrant and reinvest, whether that be in new housing, whether it be in other things. I would venture to say I'm probably the only one up here that has built car washes, have zoned them, have represented most of the terrible herps here in town that were built. So I understand the car wash is probably better than some, but not as well as everyone. But this property is 120-some feet, 26 feet deep, according to the architect's plan. 27 or 21 parking spaces, 5 feet of landscaping, 20-foot depth for a row of parking, 24-foot drive, another 20. On this property, in our wildest dreams, unless you're going to go multi-story, which I don't think would benefit the Garys at all, or any buddy to the east there that views this residentially, the best that can be put on this property, and the architect probably has gone through this exercise, is a building that's roughly 30-some feet deep or less by about 110 feet long, which would still leave big open areas on the drives of both ends. It would still leave the site parking deficient, because if we're worried about 15 employees coming to the car wash, if you put beauty salons and you put yogurt stands, whatever, you actually get more employees that will drive to work. Most car washes, a significant number of the employees use public transportation, which we've been really championing in our community here. So we can worry about overparking this for all the wrong reasons, or we can look at this, how we can make a business. I commend you for going through all the effort to try and make a serious investment in West Las Vegas. Car washes can work in the middle of the block. Are they perfect? No. But this is a busy street, and it's a busy neighborhood. I just would like to see us ask some of the questions that deal with how do we promote business in this time, rather than find out nice little catchphrases to stop development. I mean, we want a future plan. We want to wait to see what the future has to bring. We've waited 50 years to develop along the street, and if I remember correctly, we've got a convenience store at both ends of the block. Used to be a convenience store at the other end of the block, but quite honestly, it was probably the worst gang shooting event in southern Nevada's history, and they tore the 7-Eleven down. I know Commissioner Goins remembers that, and it was definitely not the answer. And that was a little strip mall. So there's no guarantee a strip mall is going to solve the problems. So unless we want to just let food trucks park here, which I don't think is good for the neighborhood, we should roll our sleeves up and find out how to make a project like this work and make everybody work together to encourage people to move to our community and bring new ideas and new investment. If you're from LA, you're from Florida, you're from Pittsburgh, wherever it is, Las Vegas has been a place that's welcomed people to come here and make investments and make a good living for themselves. So I'd like to, this is not the worst thing on this property. There's no way this property can be developed without variances, just by the distance, unless you just want to make it a paved lot and put landscaping around the outside. So I would like to see us try to see how this works. And I didn't make the neighborhood meeting because I typically wait till applicants bring things here. So.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Please.
I'll keep it quick and not repeat anything that's already been said, but I live right next to a car wash, and I'm surrounded by commercial developments on 3 sides of my property. One of the main things is I don't want to look out on a commercial property that backs up to us that's just stucco, an emergency exit, real plain, no money put into the facade, and there's no incentive for these businesses to invest anything into the rear of their property. They want to put it on the front, on the side, where people actually see. So for me, personally, having a business that's landscaped on all sides, that's actually has a facade going around all sides, is better than a strip shopping center, where my view is going to be obstructed either way. So the main thing that I would have an issue with is if you're not policing the music coming from the cars. So I think the noise from the vacuums could be minimized because the one built right next to our community, it's a fairly quiet car wash. So just policing the music coming from the vehicles is the main thing that I would recommend.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I think we're ready for a motion.
Thank you. I respect all those comments, and you know, I just think it's a good project, but I think it's the wrong place. I certainly know we won't go another 50 years without any development on this particular stretch. But again, I just feel that it's a good project, but I think it's in the wrong place. I'd love to see you go up and talk to Mr. Pat Ginn up at the Chinese place and maybe abut it on to the back of that, which would be in complement to a convenience store. But with that, I'll make a motion on item 19 for denial of VAR 43359.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Please post. That motion carries. I would like to comment, though. You know, the comments made by Commissioner Truesdale are extremely true, and it's easy to come forward and say, let's block this. You know, if you ever want to see any development there, if you ever want to see any improvement into the neighborhood, you know, it's more than just building a nice home. It's making a contribution towards the development of some of these smaller commercial parcels. It's an infill. It's going to be difficult. It was with mixed emotions that I supported the motion not to permit this construction. But what will you support, and what have you done to support further development? And I think as a group and as a community that's interested in preserving and promoting West Las Vegas, you have to do something positive to help people like these that want to come forward with an idea, that have invested considerable amount of money and time to get to the point that they come here and get turned down. I think it's really, really sad to have the investment that you've got in heart and soul into the projects. But winning the neighborhood is a difficult thing, and it's something that we're pretty much bound to take into consideration. But again, Commissioner Truesdale's comments about what do you want, what will fit there, you know, work with somebody that comes forward before you get so far down the road. So that's it.
Thank you.
End of speech.
Mr. Chairman, there's two other items as well.
Okay, in regards to item number 20.
Move for denial of SUP 43358.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Please post. And in regards to item number 21.
Move for denial of SDR 43360.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes.
And just one comment, and I'll wrap this up to just caveat with the chairman. But I think you have to read the history to understand this on here. You know, back in the early 40s through the 50s and the 60s, this place was known as Mississippi of the West. So back in those days, it was, I can remember this clearly, having come here in 1963, that most black folks were told to stay west of Main Street and to stay east of Bonanza. So back in the early days in the 60s, when Miss Gary was trying to get this zoned commercial, there was a prime developer that came in and wanted to keep it residential. So back then they were saying, no development over here, let's just keep it residential and keep these little railroad cottages and keep everybody on this side. So I think it's monumental in what Ms. Duran said that Ms. Gary did They went in a back room, and it passed by a narrow vote to vote for this land to become commercial. So although it has been 50 years, I think it has 50 more years, and I think it will be developed wholeheartedly into something better than a car wash.
Mr. Chairman, these items will go forward to the January 18th City Council meeting.
We now move to item number 22 and companion item 23. 22 is a special use permit 43005. The applicant is Sequoia Electric. The owner is Sagebrush Property Ventures, LLC, for possible action on request for a special use permit for building maintenance service and sales at 4485 North Rainbow Boulevard. It's a C1 Limited Commercial. Item 23, Site Development Review 43004, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for the addition of an existing 4,970 square foot building to a site containing an existing 4,011 square foot office with a waiver to allow a 2-foot landscape buffer along a portion of the north perimeter where 8 feet is required, and to allow no building articulation or architectural features where required. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, before you go, I need to abstain on this item and the next item in as much as I have a partner that owns the adjacent property.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the subject site contains an existing office building at the front of the site and a partially constructed building at the rear of the site. The applicant proposes to complete construction of the building at the rear of the property for storage and rental of small business-related equipment. The curb building has already been partially constructed. The building maintenance, service, and sales use can meet minimum Title 19 requirements and can be conducted in a manner that is compatible with adjacent commercial and residential uses. Staff therefore recommends approval of the special use permit with conditions. Revised elevations have been submitted to add a false facade with a cornice, articulated walls, and roofline variation to the partially constructed semicircular building. Additional perimeter and parking lot landscaping are to be added, and parking will be provided in conformance to Title 1908. As the proposed structure and site conform to Title 1908 requirements, staff also recommends approval of the site development plan review. If denied, a new site development plan must be submitted for any new development on the site, and the partially constructed building may be required to be removed.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Sir?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. Richard Gallegos, 3005 West Horizon Ridge Parkway, here on behalf of the applicant. We do understand and concur with staff's recommendations. We had a informal neighborhood meeting a few weeks back, and one of the items that I did promise the neighbors that we would propose to add an additional condition to the special use permit, which would be to the effect that we would have a 1-year review after C of O is obtained to make sure that everything's running smoothly, and again, we would agree to that. So with that, we do ask for your approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Todd Farland, 240 North 19th Street. I thought that we addressed this property within the last year. Are we talking about the same property here? We are? Was that voted down or what? Why are we addressing it again?
We withdrew the previous applications, Mr. Farland. We withdrew the previous application.
Oh, you withdrew it. Thank you very much. I see.
Okay. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. I appreciate all the efforts that you've done trying to conform to what we were looking to do. And I'm going to support this, but I do have some reservations and some concerns that I want to put on the record and to make sure they don't occur. One of them was going to be I was going to want that 1-year review on the special use permit, and so I appreciate that. My concerns on this are, one is y'all constructed the structure without permits or permission and the like and got started on that. Okay, so we're kind of looking past that. I appreciate the facade you're putting on there to disguise this and keep it hidden from view and the like. But on the other hand, what I don't want to see on this property is heavy equipment. One of the conditions on here are no heavy equipment parked on there, coming on, and so to speak. And I want y'all to adhere to that. Otherwise, when you come back for that one-year review on the special use permit, I can assure you if I'm still here, you're going to lose it. The second thing that concerns me is the wash pit that you have here. Now, the condition on the wash pits, no drains, no water running off property, no access to the sewer system. And wash pits usually mean heavy equipment. Having been in the military and seeing the tank wash pits, I know what they're for. And so I don't want to see heavy equipment coming on the property to be cleaned in those wash pits. And so my understanding is it's going to be for the smaller items that you have to rent and to store commensurate with your business. The other thing is we're really not looking to see, again, a lot of large vehicles parked on the property in conjunction with this. What I'm understanding is that you're going to rent some smaller items inside the structure, which will have things like wearing apparel, electronics, maybe, small appliances and tools and that type of thing. And then in addition to that, you're going to section it off for storage for things commensurate with your business, both inside and outside. My understanding is primarily on the inside. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So with those things said, I am going to support this, but again, I urge you to comply with all the conditions, or your client to comply with all the conditions, or when you come back on the one-year review, it will go away.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we understand and accept all of the comments from Commissioners.
Any of the commissioners have a comment or thought they want to get on the record? Seeing none, I think we're ready for a motion then, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On item 22, SUP 43005, I move to approve subject to all conditions, also with the additional condition of a one-year review.
And would that be at Planning Commission as a public hearing?
Yes.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Opposed? Motion carries. Regards to item 23.
Mr. Chairman, for item 23, SDR 43004, again, would move to approve, subject to all conditions.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Motion carries. Recognize the abstention of Commissioner Truesdale.
Mr. Chairman, these items will go forward to City Council on January the 18th.
Item number 24 has been held in abeyance, so we moved to item number 25, which is special use permit 43354. The applicant is Nuvo Recycling. The owner is Nevada Space, Inc. For possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 26,300 square foot salvage or reclamation of products outdoor use within an existing 6-foot-tall chain-link fence with barbed wire along the rear property line at 2866 South Highland Drive. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this item was held in abeyance to allow the applicant some time to look at some other options. The special use permit is required as the salvage yard does not meet the minimum conditional use requirements to provide evergreen trees for screening, and also in regards to the 6-foot-tall fence with barbed wire along portions of the front and rear property line in lieu of the 8-foot screen wall. Staff does recommend approval of this request as is appropriate location for the industrial use purpose, and we haven't received any additional comments since publication.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open now. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Good evening. I'm Patty Belova, Belova Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant. We accept and concur staff conditions, and I'm here to answer questions.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak on the matter?
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. And from the looks of this stuff, it looks in pretty sad shape. Are they going to redo this? Are they going to sandblast and stucco it? And this picture that we're looking right at here, is that where that barbed wire with the concertina wire, is that where that's going to go?
The applicant we're going to be applying for a business license, and under which we'll be applying, of course, for a certificate of occupancy. We'll be improving the site substantially. This is along the railroad track, the picture you're looking at. All the landscaping and debris will be removed, and the secondary containment will be put in place.
But, you know, Mr. Chairman, that's my problem. They say, oh, well, it's just along the railroad track. But Amtrak goes along there. You know, I don't want people going down Amtrak, and when the super speed train comes through, they'll be looking at that. I mean, we're looking at, you know, if we're doing it something now, we got to look 15 years in the future, right? So if we're looking 15 years in the future, I don't want the hoi polloi train looking at some junkyard back there. That's my problem.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Thank you for meeting me at the property. We held this in abeyance for the last month, and I met with the applicant just this week. This is it's a deceiving piece of property when you're looking at it from pictures. There are 4 warehouses. This one sits in the very back of 2 other warehouses that look as bad as these warehouses. So when we went back there, the barbed wire is along the train track. She is going to complement just her area, which is to clean it up, to put up a fence and shield the other ones. But this owner does not own all of these warehouses. He is only taking a partial piece, and that piece is what he's going to complement and make look as good as he can. It's a lot of work. I mean, it is. Her and I were back there. It's a mess, but it's not just her mess. It's the landlord's mess, and it's the other building's mess. So with that, with all of staff's recommendations, and with the fact that you're going to clean up the area and you're going to put up a screen fence, as we discussed, yes, to distract the other businesses there, whatever they are, I'm going to make the motion for approval with all staff's recommendations, unless if anybody else wants to say anything else about it. Unless if you go there, there's really not much to say about it.
Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a real problem with your use, but I do have a problem with the rapidly growing acceptance of razor wire as a reasonable landscape or architectural feature, and for that reason, I'm not going to support this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts before I call for a motion? Call for the vote. Okay. Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Motion's been made. Please cast. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this item will go before City Council on January the 18th.
We now move to item number 26, Site Development Review 42987. The applicant is CIM POP Las Vegas LLC. The owner is the City of Las Vegas for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for proposed general retail store other than listed and plaza at 300 North Casino Center Boulevard. Staff report, please.
Bear with me 1 second. This is a request to convert an existing bus transportation facility into a general retail store with outdoor plaza area for additional activities included to vending, events, and food trucks. The existing site is to remain in its current configuration with areas set aside for outdoor activities to occur. This adaptive reuse of the site is anticipated to fill a void between the vacancy created with the new transportation terminal opened at Bonneville Avenue and Casino Center Boulevard and the future redevelopment of the site. The reuse supports policy 2.6 of the Las Vegas or I'm sorry, 1.2.6 of the Las Vegas 2020 redevelopment plan, master plan, which states that the city encourages street vendors as a means of improving the pedestrian environment. It also supports the Downtown Centennial Plan's urban design goals and objectives for the pedestrian environment to encourage a network of arcades throughout the downtown. Staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance who wishes to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners, Director. My name is Todd Kessler, 206 North 3rd Street, Kessler Consulting. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. We concur with staff's recommendations and requested to approve this, what I think is a great reuse project.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance who wishes to speak on this matter, please approach the mic and give your name for the record. Mr. Farlow?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Farlow. Can somebody elaborate on this? I mean, what are we doing? I'm interested in seeing what's going on, but I want to, tell us about it.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion. And I'll echo Mr. Farlow's question. What are you doing here?
Sure.
And tell me about signage
it's
and
a long night, so I
parking.
don't want to take you. But as indicated in our submittals, we're basically turning the downtown transportation center into a flea market, not a flea market, a food market, as well as food trucks and pop-up retail. And it's it'll be one of the great things that are happening downtown to bring community back together. And it's a great project. It's a great facility. It's a great building. It should still remain that way. This is a temporary reuse of it. There are other plans as it relates to what's occurring behind the post office block. But this will allow, for the next 2 years at least, a great reuse. It really is simply a farmer's market, food trucks, pop-up retail. Pop-up retail is a new style concept that is non-traditional in a true retail, normal brick-and-mortar facility. It's more a creative ability to let artists come out and show their wares.
Tell me more about the food trucks. Well, I like to come downtown and go to some of the finer restaurants. My pocketbook says I really should go to the Roach Coaches.
Yeah, those words are no longer used. It's haute cuisine trucks.
Haute cuisine.
And it's as you know, it's been taken incredible magnitude lately with the food trucks. We've had some great events downtown already that El Cortez has put on. This is going to be hopefully a permanent home so that folks who are in the downtown community and are looking for a lunch on a daily basis will come and utilize the amazing food trucks that are in this town already that can't really find a home. This will be hopefully a good home for them, where they can have a base and not be more mobile than they typically are.
And what else is going to be down there? The farmers market?
A farmers market, yes. On Fridays, we're going to be running a farmers market similar to what's going on at Springs Reserve right now on Thursdays, as well as similar to what's going on at the Azul on Thursdays. I don't know if that's still going on or not, but more of a downtown farmers market. Great, sustainable, organic, locally grown, and not so much all locally grown, but as much as they can get, and then bringing in stuff in from California. But it's a great reuse project. I mean,
And what kind of signage is going to be involved, and where are you going to park all these?
Sure, we have a great number of parking spaces based on the way that the site is currently configured. And additionally, there's access to the underground NDOT parking spaces that sit underneath the freeway. They're just behind here. Those are public spaces as well. And I forgot your first question, Chairman.
Signage.
Signage is not part of this SDR. It's going to be, if I recall staff's conditions, it's going to be dealt with separately. But we did call out on our site plan for what we planned on doing. Again, this is a temporary reuse, so we're looking to put up more of what you would call a more temporary signage concepts than a normal.
But in your comments right now, you said it's a 2-year, conditional use, an interim use. But you'd said you had hopes of going permanent.
If it's well received by the community, which I believe it will be, I think it'll have a lot longer legs than that.
Mr. Kessler, I'm sorry, Chairman. I love this concept. I think it's great, but at least give us the kind of the due respect to answer the signage. I mean, this isn't like a shell game. Tell us what's new and creative, because I mean, there are no great secrets out there, but I think we want to support this. At least I get the impression we want to support this. I just like to tell the people what we plan, what people envision down there.
Sure, we provided the signage info as part of the submittal. From staff's report, they indicated that they didn't want it to be part of this. It was going to undergo a separate review, let's call it. I don't know how it's actually worded. But the signage aspects are called out specifically where they're going to be located. I believe there's signage along Casino Center and Stewart as well. I don't recall the other to call out where it is. There's one back north on Casino Center by the entrance underneath the freeway. I don't have any, I'm not here to show you the signs. That's going to be part of the other submittal to the DDRC, but it's going to be normal signage. It's not, we're not putting on anything to the building from a permanent structure, from a typical neon signs or underlit sign or something like that.
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
So you talk about pop-up retailers and food trucks. Is it limited to that, or also the proposed market, the actual building?
We don't plan on, again, the building itself is intended to be used specifically for the farmers market.
Okay.
The outdoor spaces where the buses used to park, that is to be used for the food trucks as well as the pop-up retail.
And I think staff report says something like 66 parking spaces, but there's something like 70, 80 parking spaces, and there was something that staff mentioned to me at one point. Is that parking part of the overall site that's being reviewed today?
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
through you, if I might, this project is located within the boundaries of the Downtown Centennial Plan, so we don't automatically apply parking requirements. We review these on a case-by-case basis, looking specifically at the use of the property.
Thank you. Absolutely, and I wasn't thinking that it was parking deficient, but this was a month ago when I asked the question, I forgot. But basically, the parking is part of the overall project?
Yes.
In the rear.
What you see, and like I said, there's an additional hundreds and hundreds of parking spaces underneath the freeway that are public parking.
Okay.
Just a couple of questions. I spent 7 years of my life down there as the customer service manager for the transit company, so I know the property intimately. You say farmers market, so there used to be a McDonald's on the inside of there.
Yeah, there's still remaining a little kitchen, a commercial-style kitchen in there.
You going to open it?
No, it's not really a true kitchen because McDonald's food is not traditionally cooked in normal fashion.
Right.
But so it's more of a it was more of a heat and go kind of facility when it existed.
Very good. One issue that I know, and I haven't heard anybody talk about, but I know that was always an issue when we had the transit buses down there, and maybe that may have been the reason, but it brought that unwanted element. I know you probably know prior to that little park that was supposed to be Oscar's Park ended up being what it was. And has that been addressed? And if that becomes an issue of the loitering, how do you guys plan to handle that?
Sure. This project is also part of the redevelopment that's occurring at the Old Lady Luck in the downtown Grand. And there is a large security force that exists now and that will continue to grow as everything develops over there as well. Part of that security patrol will be required to, basically cross Stewart there to go over into that and patrol that area as well.
Are you guys
public property?
Yeah,
still.
I know you said primarily food truck and then farmers market. Are you going to allow your kind of Chicago-style hot dog stand
sure.
type
Any
type
food,
uses?
mobile food vendor, let's call them.
Good,
Whether
'cause
that's a hot dog stand or there's a great Chicago hot dog company called Felony Franks, and we'd love to have them here. It'd be great for the Ma Museum.
Just last week, I was at the Beat Coffee House and ran into a gentleman coming out who has a similar
Yes,
use, and his question to me was, how can I get in the downtown area? And I was like, let me look into it, and then here you come.
I know him well, so I will see him next time he's up there. I eat his food often, so I will speak to him about that.
Thank you.
We want all food vendors to come downtown. We want it to be a hub for food trucks and other food vendors, as well as what I'll call this non-traditional pop-up retail style, which is more of what you'd see at a flea market, but it actually exists in a structure that pops up sometimes, or that's an Airstream RV from the old days. They were very crafty in the way they reuse those types of products and turn them into a mini retail location.
Thank you.
Any more comments? I think we're ready for a motion then.
Mr. Chairman, ready to make a motion for approval on item 26, SDR 42987, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Thank you. Before we vote on the motion, I would like to see the condition added to where at the end of 2 years, if you wanted to apply for an extension, that'd be a permissible activity without going through the whole process again.
And Mr. Chairman, how we might word that additional condition would be something to this effect, that this site plan shall be valid for a period of 2 years from the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. An extension of time application may be filed for consideration in accordance with Title 19.
Thank you.
That's acceptable.
Accept that as a condition.
I'll amend my motion to accept that as condition number 7 on this application.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. And the motion carries. I'd now like to call a brief recess. So, thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chairman, if I might, this item will go forward to City Council on January the 18th.
Okay, I think we're ready to start back up again. Good. Everybody answer your phones. City Hall. Okay, here we go. Item number 30 and related item 31. Where did 29 go? That was called, wasn't it? 29 was held in abeyance. Yeah. Okay. Item 31 is a variance, 43-728. The applicant owner is the Scenic Vistas LLC for possible action on request for a variance to allow 84 parking spaces where 111 parking spaces are required at 2905 and 2908 West Charleston Boulevard. Item 31 is site development review 43-726 for possible action on a request for site development plan review to add a 6,036 square foot second story to an existing medical office building for a total height of 32 feet with waivers of the perimeter landscape buffer requirements to allow 0 feet along the east, west, and south boundary lines where 8 feet is required. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this is a request to expand a medical office building by the addition of a second floor and enhance the landscaping at both 2809 and 2905 West Charleston Boulevard. In the CD Design Commercial Zoning District, buildings that front on Charleston Boulevard between Rancho Drive and Valley View Boulevard are limited to 1 story or 20 feet in height unless otherwise approved by the City Council as a site development plan review. Both properties are legally nonconforming as they do not meet the current setback requirements or perimeter landscape buffer requirements of the CD district. However, as part of this request, the applicant is proposing to combine the properties, at which time the existing and proposed structures will meet required setbacks. A variance for reduced parking is necessary as the site cannot accommodate the increased parking requirement of the increased building area. Staff recommends denial of both applications due to the variance required and supports the single-story height limitation of the CD district in this area. If denied, the proposed expansion could not take place. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on behalf of this item, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
I'm Dustin Arbolinsky with 2905 West Charleston. We've got the builder, the architect, and the owner with us today. We're proposing a 2-story addition to the existing building on the west of the property, which we're actually mapping with the property to the east to make it one property. What we're trying to do is we're building a surgery center for Dr. Capel here. He's a pain doctor, and he needs to have extra space in order to do his practice. So the second floor is going to be a clinic, and then the first floor is going to be a medical office and surgery center. So I'll turn it over to the architect.
I am Tim Wissenbach with PSWC Architects, 9837 Glen Rock Drive, Las Vegas. And just a few things to mention here. The proposed building is at 32 feet, which leaves us ample height for the building, but still to keep a low profile with a theme of a horizontal linear appearance. The glazing has been eliminated that would look into the backyards of the neighbors to the south. However, there is a generous parking buffer between the building and the neighbors to the south. We propose the building's exterior to be enhanced with a stippled stucco finish with stone veneer accents that would be generously applied as columns and would really give a high-quality appearance to the structure. Also, in keeping with the earth tones that are similar to some of the newer buildings that are down the way toward the east of the project. And also the glazing will be low E with a light green tint that will make it tie in with the earth tones. And we also, presently, the two buildings have paved areas with virtually no landscaping, and this will have substantial amounts of landscaping added to the site.
This is the proposed landscape plan that we have. Can you see that?
The red dot with the,
Oh, is this the camera here?
It's above you.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's good, you can see right.
That's good.
In addition, there will be carports across the back for the physician parking, and that will also add to the buffering with the neighbors to the south. And that parking, the carports will be about 7'4" high to the eave. And there's also a 6-foot masonry fence across the rear. So if there are any other questions from an architectural standpoint, I'd be happy to answer them.
we'll find out. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak?
Sure. Elaine Coppell, I'm actually the physician that wants to be able to practice there. Kind of a little bit about what I want to do is I did my training actually at Johns Hopkins. And when I came out to Las Vegas 5.5 years ago, I was a little bit surprised about, to be honest with you, some of the quality and the fact that some of the patients were actually leaving Las Vegas to Phoenix for the Mayo Clinic, UCLA, UCSD, UCSF, and what have you to obtain medical care. Kind of what I want to do is actually build a center of excellence for pain management here in Las Vegas. And when I chose the location, I wanted it to be central in the city. I'm actually Hispanic. I was born in Mexico. And a good portion of our patients are underserved patients that we see there. But the reason I need the space on the second story is in order to build a center of excellence like we had at Johns Hopkins, you actually need the space to be able to house in-house the surgery team, the neurology team, the pain management physicians, and be able to do the procedures in-house, because that's the way you're able to communicate actually the treatment plan with everybody there. If you have the pain management physician in one facility, the surgeon in another facility, the therapist at a third facility, the neurologist at a fourth facility, the fifth facility is for surgical centers, the communication really breaks down. And really what I want to do is, like I said, is just a center of excellence so people don't actually have to leave Las Vegas in order to get the medical care that they did deserve, which is a high academic care that's evidence-based. The clinic itself is going to employ 5 providers. The total staff at the clinic is going to be around 25 total staff members. 5 providers with 25 staff members. And essentially, the reason that we're asking for, because of the property and the size, there's a variance on the parking is not, the parking isn't filled 100% of the time. Per Medicare guidelines and Medicare guidelines and insurance guidelines, each provider can only basically see about 4 patients per hour. So if you have 5 providers and you're seeing 4 patients per hour, you're looking at about 20, maybe at the top 25 patients an hour that are going to be transitioning through there. So there's 25 staff members plus 5 physicians, that's 30 parking spots, plus 20 to 25 patients that are actually in the parking lot at any one time. And that still leaves approximately, I think, about 20 to 30 parking spaces remaining that are not in use. If you look at the parking structure, I think there's about 25 to 30 parking spaces in the back of the building. That's where the staff would be parking. And the patients basically park close to the entrances of the facility.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Mr. Farlow?
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. The artist's drawings here don't show the trees out in front, but I saw in the site development plan that they have trees. What I'd like to see is a nice wide sidewalk out front with some trees along there for shade. Thank you.
And we do show, we have lots of trees in the front here.
My name is Bert Craig with the builder. In the back of the building here, for the buffing, if you notice on the site plan here, if you can see that okay, we're putting a lot of tall trees up around the building, and there's no glass that can actually stare into anyone's residential yard, including the staircase is enclosed to where when you come out a metal door at the bottom. You can't sit there and, smoke cigarettes or have a coffee break and look into somebody else's backyard.
Okay, a little less concerned about the looking into people's backyard is to the question regarding what kind and how much of the landscaping? You said it's just considerable, is that?
Yeah, we're
as many as
lining all
three, or-
these, the back of his building up with, I think we're going to end up putting, I don't know what I can't read that
And
right now.
the curbside appeal.
Yeah,
Right.
The front.
Oh, the front?
Looks like a green spot to me.
We are asking for a waiver of some landscaping due to the fact that our drive
All
aisles.
three sides, it sounds like.
Well, and the existing use of the property, which it's not going to, the use isn't going to change. It's still going to be a medical use. We
Yeah.
don't really have.
It's got to do with the landscape.
We
on
don't
all
really
three
have.
sides.
I'm sorry. We don't really have room to add the buffer where the existing parking is. We would lose our drive aisle if we were to come down there. So the adjacent lots, we're putting island landscaping, and we have also addressed some concerns. We actually had one neighbor show up at the neighborhood meeting, and they're kitty corner to the property here. And one of their concerns was, are we going to have trees? Are we going to have people looking in our yard? So as part of our site design, we do have deciduous trees all over the property, shrubs. We're trying to make it green while at the same time still being able to utilize the property for what we need to do. More landscaping would have increased our parking waiver, and being that this is the current layout, we felt that what we're doing here, adding the landscaping we're adding, is going to be a definite improvement to the property.
Thank you.
And in the rear of the property, where the residential properties are, we actually quite well exceed the residential adjacency standards for our height that we're adding to the building. And currently, the way the property is, it's two properties. We're in the initial stages of remapping it into one, which actually eliminates the nonconformity that we have of the property for the building size. And either way, we're improving the aesthetic value. We are, like I said, we are redoing all the landscaping. So I forget the gentleman's name that was just up here, but it's going to be a big improvement to what was there prior when the site was in use. Other than that, we're looking for any other helpful suggestions that would help us move forward to do what we need to do here. So,
Thank you. Did I close the public hearing? Okay. Is there anyone else in attendance who would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, then I'd like to close the public hearing and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
I need to make a brief disclosure. I manage a property that is a few buildings away from this, inside the notice area. It doesn't affect my ability to fairly review this plan and deal with this. So I make that disclosure.
Well, Chairman, that's fine under Nevada law because this application wouldn't affect his business any differently than it would the other businesses around his, so he's free to vote on this matter.
But I would ask the architect, what kind of surgical center or surgery center is this?
It's ambulatory surgical center, so it's primarily going to be spinal. So the majority of it's going to be actually pain management injections, so epidurals, facet blocks, SI joint blocks. Basically, the patients come in, they get pre-op, and the procedures take maybe 10 minutes to perform, and then they go home. It's light sedation.
And I was under the impression, I don't know, maybe wrongly, from a lot of medical developers, that a surgical center requires a place for ambulance to pick up in case there's a problem, requires a porte-cochere for delivery and pickup.
Correct. So basically, the reason it's part of the landscaping issue as well is right now both entrances that you see here are actually both in and out, and what we had to do is, in order to accommodate ambulances and what have you, is turning both into one-way, basically, streets. So the entrance is here only one way, and the exit is here one way. So, and then the entrance to the surgical center is here, and then the pickup is basically in that area there. So drop off and pick up.
So doesn't it require to be covered?
Yes, there's a porte cochere coming off of the existing entrance to the west elevation, just back from the street, and that's required by the Medicare requirements for this project. So we have a covered entry, and then as the doctor mentioned, we have the circulation in and the circulation back out.
And that's, I just want to make sure that, and I think having the one-way parking may help us deal with one of the other concerns on the site. If you were able to convert a good share of that parking along both sides to angled directional parking, I believe you'd be able to pick up enough landscaping that would give some comfort in the fact that we aren't just waving all the landscaping on three sides of this building. And I think with your one-way plan, I think that would solve some of my concerns with it.
We have done several different analysis on the parking. We're definitely open to whatever can be done. Obviously, we don't want to promise that we can do something that we can't with the drive aisles. A couple things. This, for a layman, an ambulatory surgery center is more of an in-depth extension of a doctor's office where he can perform procedures which don't normally go on inside of a regular treatment room, where if you were just seeing your doctor, there's certain things they can do and there's certain things they can't. Our proposal is to continue forward either way with the surgery center at the site. The main issue we're having right now is trying to do the excellence center for the doctor so that he can achieve what he wants for the community here. But as far as the surgery center goes, it's a very minimally invasive type of surgical procedure. They're not cutting people wide open hours and risk of life or death. This is a very controlled environment. It's a very standard thing. Like I said, it's more of an extension of a doctor's office, which allows them to perform procedures on site, which they would have to do at another place. And the other thing with this, there's not going to be any emergency use of the facility. This isn't zoned for anybody that would want to come in and do some sort of a quick care or on-demand type health care or surgery. It's not 24-hour. We're limited to daytime hours only. And we are working vigorously with the people in the area to try to help spruce the area up and make an improvement to what's there. So if that answers your question.
Well, I'm not sure that was my question. I think your architect answered it, that you are dealing with the porte cochere issue, the drop-off issue, which are, I think they're Medicare, and
yes, sir.
There are other regulatory requirements far beyond what our land use is.
Oh, absolutely, sir.
And the fact that you're able to accomplish those, to meet those licensing requirements, which we're not here to deal with, I think does provide us the opportunity to address, if this is all planned for one-way traffic, one way in, one way out,
sure,
the ability to angle the parking gives us some half diamonds at the end of those rows that we can pick up some trees.
Yeah, absolutely.
And better address, I think, the issues along West Charleston of improving the landscaping of all of those buildings.
Yeah, and Commissioner Truesdale, like I said, anything that you guys have that you might want to adjust, we're wide open to. Obviously, we just want to note that due to the restriction of the size of the property, any kind of a condition, we would have to make sure that we could do it if it was placed on us. As far as angling the parking and creating more landscape, anything that we had to do to the site to make this happen, we're full and ready to do it. So.
Mr. Chairman. Any other comments? Mr. Goins?
How are you buffering the folks on Ashby? I was just looking at your neighborhood meeting, and I believe it's an 8-foot wall and trees.
Yes, sir. Well,
Okay.
we've had a meeting with the neighbors. Doctor has no objective to doing any kind of improvements to satisfy the neighbors in the area, because they do have a very nice neighborhood there on West Charleston. It's been there forever, and it's a very mature neighborhood. I don't know if it's an RNP or not, but And we don't depict them here because they're not a part of this application, but we do plan carports along the back, which will have a screen along the back of the carport to block any sort of additional view from those properties. I won't name him, but one of the neighbors that did show up requested an 8-foot wall. We have no problem with an 8-foot wall there. We're actually going to have to demolish part of the existing site walls in order to pull our power in. And any additional landscaping that we could squeeze in, we're full in intent on doing so. Absolutely, sir.
Are you doing any, I mean, it's a constructed building. Are you doing looking for any LEED type building? Are you planning on using any solar panels for lighting on the property or anything like that?
What we're doing is this particular property, due to the constraints we have now, we do have some items that are energy efficient items that'll fall under the IEEE, but we're not going to do any quote unquote LEED building here at this site at the time. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Does anybody else want to say anything regarding this item before I do?
Ms. Quinn, the architect.
Yeah, if I could just mention something about what you inquired about the LEED. We will incorporate many features that would normally qualify as LEED. For example, the interior lighting by code would match something that you would go in for a LEED rating. We're going to use low E glass, tinted glass, double glazed, thermally broken frames. The insulation will be in far excess of what the code minimum requires, and the air conditioning will be upwards of SEER 14 to 16. And the site lighting the same way. And then on the issue of the angled parking, just looking at it, it appears like we could angle about 16 spaces at a 30 degree, which would cost us possibly 2 more spaces, but this would give us a considerable amount of buffering because the angled parking can make the driveway a bit narrower. And so that's possible. However, with the handicap parking, it still needs to be at the 90-degree method.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple questions for you before you make a motion. Thank you. I think one of the issues that's we're almost silent to, and that is that we're asking to build a 32-foot tall building where 20 foot is the maximum allowed. Does that require a specific waiver also, or a variance rather? What are we doing here?
Mr. Chairman, the code does not require specifically a waiver or a variance. As it's written for the CD, Design Commercial Overlay, any variation, if you will, from the 20-foot height limit requires the approval of City Council, I believe. And so it does not require a variance or a waiver.
Okay, so we would do the recommending phase, and it goes to City Council for final determination.
That is correct.
Regarding this CD overlay.
So I'm ready to make the recommendation phase. I was by your property today, and I was there last week, and I called Mr. Kappa. I spoke with one of you on the phone today, sir. Thank you. And I gave you great concern of what's going on to the west of your property, which is another pain management, and I know it's not your problem, but it is my problem because it runs into your.
It's my problem as well because actually he's a family practice physician and he's not fellowship trained in pain management, and that's the specific reason that I want to build this center.
Okay,
so
well,
that's
when you hear the word waiver for landscape, waiver for parking, waiver for height, under Title 19, you have moved into an area where it's written that over 20 feet is not acceptable. Okay, so what you purchased, and with all of these waivers, you've overbuilt the site. And when you overbuilt the site, you're encroaching into Ashby and into the neighborhoods and into that area. And I'm not going to support either one of your variances tonight because they don't follow the rules of Title 19. And on top of that, you've just overbuilt the site. I mean, it's just too much. all we're hearing about is waiver this and waiver that and waiver this. Before you know it, we're just going to have a building with parking spaces, and it's just not going to work for that area in my site. So with that, I'm going to leave it with, I'm going to follow staff's recommendation. They put a lot of work into this for variance 43728 to deny the request for the application for the parking spaces. So let's start with that one. My motion is for denial, to follow staff's recommendation.
Okay, a motion has been made. Please cast your votes.
Can I ask a question before we vote?
Oops, let's.
I thought I read in there something
let's
about.
withdraw the votes first. And
Well, we have to withdraw it? No. There was a comment about combining the two lots to get rid of the waiver. What was that about?
Mr. Goins, Mr. Chairman, through you, with the property line down, essentially the center of the two buildings, there would be the requirement for landscape buffers along the property lines, and by combining those, that eliminates that requirement for the landscape buffer in between the two parcels. And I'll just look to staff to see if there's anything else I left out by combining the properties that also eliminate some of the problems with, I believe, the parking lot configuration.
Mr. Chairman, through you, combining the properties would also take care of some non-conforming setback issues for the existing buildings. And although the site, the two parcels work together currently as a single site, so to speak, because the parking lot functions as a single parking lot, combining the site would just ensure that that continues through the future.
okay, and in more direct, this action tonight will combine the two parcels.
This action does not combine the two parcels, but it kind of it.
Why don't we do that?
The combination of the two parcels makes this more feasible, because it would eliminate the need for additional waivers and exceptions.
The combining of the two parcels eliminates a lot of the future waivers.
It would eliminate the need for additional waivers along
But we're
that.
not doing that tonight.
No, that would be an administrative mapping action that would follow this action.
Okay, so you're getting the hint that that seems to be the way to go, though. Okay.
If I might add that I understand Mrs. Ashby's, Quinn. I'm stuck on Ashby because that's the street that actually boundaries us to the rear. It's a tough site. It's an older site. There is two buildings that were built side by side. My opinion is they're kind of unsightly now.
Appreciate your input. I think that any additional arguments pro or con is inappropriate at this point of
Well,
motion.
I was just wanting to add that the
that's the
nonconformity is going away. So the property currently is nonconforming, and by doing what we're doing, we'll bring it into conformance.
Understood that from staff's comments. Thank you. We
My
want to
motion
restate the
stands.
motion.
My motion stands for variance 43728 to deny the application and following staff's recommendation. Please.
Okay, motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Post. 1, 2, 3. And that motion passes.
Thank you.
In regards to item number 31,
I'm going to follow staff's recommendation for denial regarding the Title 19 encroachment of the two-story building, SDR 43726. Staff recommendation is for denial, and that's my motion. Thank you.
motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. And that motion fails. So do we need a motion to the counter? One without the other doesn't get you anyplace.
I'm not changing my motion.
Asking the attorney for a clarification.
Well, Chairman, I certainly will clarify. We certainly need a vote in the affirmative to move forward. It appears that we had a motion to deny that was approved on the variance, but then this motion to deny the SDR was denied.
Mr. Chairman, in listening to the motion, I hit the wrong button. I'll take blame for that on the first motion. So if we'd like to rescind it, we vote, or not, doesn't matter.
Chairman, it sounds like Commissioner Truesdell is saying that he made a mistake on his vote for item number 30. Is that what I'm hearing, Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay, so I think what we need to do is have a motion to rescind the vote on number 31.
Yeah, let's finish 31 first, and then we can go back to 30. Does that make sense?
No, 32. Finish 32, then go back to 31.
We're 30 and 31. We're 30.
Oh, I'm way ahead of myself. Okay. Very good.
Yeah, see, we're in the middle of 31 right now because we didn't have an affirmative vote to do something.
Okay, let's have a re-motion on item number 31 then.
The motion, just for the record, the motion to deny failed.
Correct. And so now we're going with a motion to the alternative.
Mr. Chairman, on item number 31, SDR 43726, I move to approve.
Okay, motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Regarding item number 31.
So you're saying if I vote yes, it's to make the buildings higher, so I'm voting no. Got it.
Okay. No. Please post. So 32 is now, or 31 is now passed. Now we need a motion to rescind the vote on item number 30. Motion to that effect, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to rescind the vote on item 30.
Okay, motion's been made. Please cast your votes. I haven't voted. No, you got the vote on 30 showing, not the opportunity to re-vote. Okay, now we're going. The yes vote would be to rescind the vote on item number 30. Please vote. Please post. Motion carries. Now we're in order for a new motion in regards to item number 30, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion on item 30, variance 43728, move for approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. There you go. Doc, please don't leave. I could use some help.
This goes to City Hall, to City Council.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this item will go forward to City Council on January the 18th.
Okay. The item number 32 is a special use permit 43700. The applicant owner is Sahara Crossings LP for possible actions of a request for a special use permit for a thrift shop nonprofit at 4580 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 110, Ward 1. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed land use will allow the applicant to sell donated and used merchandise. The loading dock will be added to the rear of the building with the perimeter wall raised to meet the screening requirements of Title 19. A porte-cochere for loading and unloading of passenger vehicles is proposed on the west side of the building. All loading and unloading is to occur at these service areas and only during business hours of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. The land use is appropriate for the site and can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the surrounding land uses. Therefore, staff recommends approval with conditions.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Those in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Ma'am?
Mr. Chairman, before we start, I'm going to have to abstain on this matter. I sit on the board of directors for Goodwill Industries, so out of abundance of caution, I will be abstaining.
Thank you.
Diana Bossard, 209 South Stephanie and Henderson, representing the applicant. With me is Josh Thomas. He's with Sahara Crossing, and we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to speak regarding this item? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn the matter over to planning commissioners for a discussion and possible motion. We have got a staff recommendation for approval with conditions. Are you accepting all conditions as presented?
We concur with staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Okay. Ready for a motion if there's no questions or discussion?
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion for approval of special use permit 43700 with following all staff's recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
We can now move to item number 33 and related items 34 and 35. Item number 33 is Site Development Review 43702. The applicant is the Animal Foundation. The owner is the City of Las Vegas. It's for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for 3 existing modular buildings totaling 7,660 square feet at an existing animal hospital, clinic, or shelter with outside pens at 655 North Mojave Road. Item number 34 is a special use permit 43703 for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a cemetery mausoleum animals at an existing animal hospital, clinic, or shelter with outside pens. And item number 35 is site development review 43704 for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for 2 proposed buildings with a total floor area of 28,495 square feet at an existing animal hospital, clinic, or shelter with outside pens. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, regarding item 33, SDR 43702, there are 3 existing temporary structures located along Harris Avenue. Those include a 2,100 square foot administrative building, a 4,160 square foot cat adoption tent, and a 1,400 square foot veterinarian classroom. The structures have been entitled through previous actions, most recently SDR 31744. However, building permits were either not secured or a final inspection not completed, and the permits and entitlements have since expired. The request is to review the existing structures as permanent structures so as to obtain building permits until such time as the buildings with foundations can be constructed for these services, which are part of application items 34 and 35. Landscaping along Harris Avenue is existing but does not conform to previous approvals. As the existing structures have been shown to be compatible with the adjacent properties and a new plan for permanent facilities proposed, staff does recommend approval with conditions. Please note that condition number 6 needs to be deleted. In regards to items 34 and 35, the applicant is proposing to construct 2 connected buildings totaling 28,495 square feet as an addition to an existing 48,000 square foot animal shelter. Also proposed is a barn located east of the existing dog adoption bungalows and a animal mausoleum at the west side of the site. The 3 modular buildings that currently house the administrative office, the veterinarian technology classrooms, and the cat adoption area will be removed for the expansion of the expansion of the parking lot. A new monument sign is proposed along the Mojave Road frontage, and incidental signs are proposed within the interior of the site to provide direction and identification. As the development proposed is compatible in the appearance and function with the existing development on the site, with adjacent properties, staff recommends approval with conditions.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak, please approach the microphone and give their name for the record.
Good evening, Jennifer Lazovich, 8345 West Sunset Road, here today representing the applicant. I am here representing the Animal Foundation on a pro bono basis. I am an animal lover myself. I have adopted a cat from here, and I was happy to help them out on this when they asked me to do so. I put this site plan up just to run through and tie together everything that Doug described to you. This site plan shows what is the subject of item number 35 on your agenda, which relates to our newly proposed building. That's the site plan review. This would be the area where the new building would be. This is where the existing building would be. On item number 33, it referenced the 3 modular structures that we've had there for quite some time. We are, with this particular application, asking to make those permanent. I will tell you they're permanent on a temporary basis because at the time that we raised the money to build this new building, we're going to be removing the 3 modular structures. The reason I'm asking for them to be permanent is, as staff knows, it takes a while to raise money to build the permanent building. We seem to miss the extensions of time, and so we think it's easy enough just to ask for them to be permanent. They will go away when we build our new building, and we have begun the permitting process as staff has required us to do with the conditions. The final piece of this is a special use permit for mausoleum or cemetery. I have learned a new word through this process. We were referring to it on our plans as a columbarium. It basically refers back to a mausoleum. It isn't an open cemetery as we may think of that, but rather more of, this is a concept that I can show you, 2 different ideas, but where you could buy a plot, if you will, in a wall, and that would be where we would offer that to people who may want to store the interment of their pet's ashes at some point in the future if that happens to their pet. I don't even want to think about that for my cat. Staff is recommending approval of all of the items. I do have a request on 2 of the items to amend a condition. It relates to the same thing, which is the landscaping. In 2004, we submitted a landscape plan, and that is what these conditions refer back to, but what we would like to do is actually amend those conditions to comply with current Title 19 standards. We are deficient by a few trees. We do plan on adding some additional trees, but we can't meet what we turned in 2004, but we can meet current Title 19 standards. So if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to go over those changes.
Please do.
Okay. On item number 33, condition number 4, currently states landscape materials within the perimeter landscape buffer adjacent to the structures shall be installed in conformance with Las Vegas Municipal Code Title 19 within 90 days of final approval. So I'd like to delete the words, the previously approved landscape plan, and instead replace it with Las Vegas Municipal Code Title 19. And on item number 35, which is condition number 11, that's a very long condition. If I can, I'll just go through about halfway down. It states, installed landscaping shall not impede visibility of any traffic control device. The technical landscape plan shall comply with Las Vegas Municipal Code Title 19, period. What I'd be deleting in that sentence is include 10 24-inch box trees along Harris Avenue to match the previously approved landscape plan. Effectively, what I've done with both of those conditions is delete the reference back to the previously approved landscape plan and instead go with current Las Vegas Municipal Code Title 19 standards. And with those changes, I would ask for your approval.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak on these matters? Seeing none, declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no comments, I'll make a motion for approval of the first item, which I just...
33.
Item 33, subject to all staff's conditions of approval and as amended.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. In regards to item 34.
With regards to item 34, move for approval subject to all staff's conditions and amended conditions. They're not amended? Okay, as staff's recommended conditions.
And number 11, she made some changes to the... It's 35? Oh, okay, sorry. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Motion carries.
And with respect to item 35, move for approval subject to all staff's conditions and amended conditions.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, these items go forward to City Council on January the 18th.
Okay, we can now move to item number 36, which is a special use permit 43708, The applicant is the Cashman Field Inn. The owner is Pantheon 1101 Las Vegas LLC. Is for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a hotel residence use within an existing hotel at 1101 North Las Vegas Boulevard. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the property is currently operated as a short-term stay hotel. The proposed use will allow the applicant to provide extended stay lodging. The existing hotel meets all Title 19 requirements for the proposed use, which is appropriate for the site and can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with surrounding uses. Therefore, staff recommends approval. Please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
I'm Noah Grossi. I'm the owner of Pantheon 1101.
Thank you. And your position on the matter is?
I'm here to accept the staff's recommendations.
With all conditions?
Correct.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion. Byron's area.
Mr. Chairman. I'll reserve. Go ahead. Move to follow staff's recommendation for approval of item SUP 43708.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. Punched it too quick. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, this item will go forward to City Council on January the 18th.
Item number 39 was held in abeyance, so we moved to number 38, and 37 was held in abeyance, so we moved to number 38. Special use permit 438797. The applicant is Cox Commercial Fleet Services, LLC. The owner is DFA, LLC. For possible action on a request for a special use permit for proposed auto shop repair garage major at 4655 North Rancho Drive. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the primary proposed use of the subject site will be the maintenance and repair of fleet vehicles. Accessory automotive parts storage and office uses are also intended for the site in support of these services. The use can be conducted in conformance with the minimum Title 19 standards for automotive repair and is adequately screened from abutting properties by a perimeter wall and landscape buffers. Therefore, staff recommends approval.
Mr. Chair, forgive my interruption. The owner is a long-term client of the firm that I work for, so I will abstain on this item.
Thank you, sir. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Good evening, Jennifer Lazovich, 8345 West Sunset Road, here tonight on behalf of the applicant. Also with me is Steve Smith. He is the area manager for Cox Fleet Services. We appreciate staff's recommendation for approval. Just by way of a brief background, this property will be used solely by Cox Fleet Services. That is the fleet that repairs your cable boxes or things like that if they go out. It will not be open to the public. It is obviously an existing property with existing structures, both that would function as an office in the front building and then as the service bay area in the rear. And we do agree with all of staff's conditions and would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no comments or questions, I'd move to follow staff's recommendations for approval and all their conditions.
Motion has been made. Please cast your votes.
Mr. Chairman, I want to just clarify one thing. Thanks for meeting with me on this item. You mentioned truck sizes. What are the sizes of the trucks that'll be here?
The bulk of the fleet is what I'll call just regular vehicles, vans, trucks, cars that we would drive on a normal basis. Just the difference is they have Cox emblem on the side. What puts us into the category of auto repair major is a weight limit of 10,000 pounds. We do have a few I'll use for lack of a better term, vehicles in our fleet that are over 10,000 pounds. And by that, it's our, what I'll call the bucket trucks, the trucks that have the arm that would raise somebody up to work on a wire or something that might be above a height and they need to get up a little bit higher. That's what throws us into that category. The majority of our fleet are just regular vehicles, but there are some that exceed that 10,000 pounds, and that's why we had to request the auto repair major.
Thank you.
Okay, motion has been made. With that clarification provided, please cast your vote. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
We now move to item number
Thank you,
39,
counsel.
Site Development Review 43718. The applicant owner is True Love Baptist Church for possible action on a request for site development plan review for a proposed 5,445 square foot addition to an existing church house of worship at 1941 H Street. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to add 5,445 square feet of a single-story addition to the existing church. Included with this proposal is additional parking and landscaping. The applicant intends the additional space to be used as ancillary classroom space in support of the existing church services. Staff does recommend approval. Please note we have received additional letters of support since publication.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on this matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Kip Barton, 8985 Southeastern. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I'm here with Curtis Wilson, deacon of the True Love Baptist Church. We appreciate the staff's approval, and we concur, and we're here to answer any questions.
And accept all conditions?
And accept all conditions.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak on the matter?
Thank you, Todd Farley, 240 North 19th Street. Some of these churches, and I don't know if this is the one or not, need some serious landscaping. Commissioner Goins, would you address that, please?
Yes, Mr.
Thank you for the help.
Yes,
Todd.
Director.
Farlow.
Director Sub A. Farlow. Under Flynn's direction. Through you, Flynn?
Please, if you would. Tell us about the landscaping scheme in detail, if you would.
Let's just clarify that Mr. Farlow is not employed by the city of Las Vegas.
He's our honorary 8th commissioner, and we appreciate his comments.
If we could go back on the screen to the landscape plan, there, I believe you have it in front of you. The landscape that they are proposing conforms with all code requirements.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
I think you'll recall in the past, we've had this applicant before us, and at that time, they were temporary buildings. I'm proud to see the Reverend has a top-notch project here. I think it'll probably set a tone for that portion of H Street. As I mentioned to him, I'm going to use this as a benchmark for those future developments coming around that have to either meet or exceed what he's done. So without any further questioning, I'll move for approval of SDR 43718, subject to all staff's recommendations and condition.
Thank you. Motion has been made. Please cast your votes.
And let the church say amen.
Mr. Chairman, this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
We moved item number 41 up, so now we can move
Thank
on
you.
to Director's Business, item 41, which is the text amendment 43007. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas. Is for possible action to amend Las Vegas Municipal Code Title 19, Unified Development Code of the City of Las Vegas, to make various corrections, clarifications, and updates of the UDC's 6-month review. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this makes non-material changes to our Unified Development Code, corrects errors, replaces certain graphics to be more descriptive, and this item is in order, and staff recommends approval.
Need a public hearing on this one? Yes. Okay. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Chairman, if there are no comments or questions, I'd make a motion for approvals.
The motion has been made. Please cast your votes. Motion, oops. Please post.
And, Mr. Chairman, that item will go forward to City Council in ordinance format.
We now move to item number 42, which is DIR 43788. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas. It's the election of the 2012 Planning Commission officers. No staff report is necessary. I think we're open for a motion at this point.
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
This is that portion of the agenda once every year that we have to go through, which I think should just be on a who's next basis in a rotation order. But I would like to take the opportunity to nominate for chairman Vicki Quinn. I think her day has come. I think we've, since I've been up here, never had a female chairman of the commission. So I'm going to make a motion for a little girl power tonight by nominating Vicki Quinn for chairman.
Okay. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Please post. And that motion carries. We're now open for a nomination for the vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to nominate Gus Flangus as vice chairman.
I didn't do this properly last time. Any other nominations? Hearing none, close the nominations and request, please cast your votes. Post. And that motion carries. Can I quit talking now? One more item. All right. We now move to item number 33, which is the citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Mr.
Thank
Farlow.
you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. Let me explain myself. When I asked Commissioner Goins to address the issue, it's because he knows of all these churches. There's so many churches out there that I get them mixed up. So that's why I ask you, because you know all of them. All
I think we
95
should
of them.
challenge him to name them.
I want to say happy holidays to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd, and best to you. Okay, that being done, I'll declare the public or the Planning Commission meeting adjourned.